Well, good evening. The hour of 6 o'clock has arrived. We will go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Valley County Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is May 8th. And the first thing we need to do is have a roll call.
Commissioner Schneider,
Here.
Potter,
Here.
Roberts,
Here.
Mabe,
Here.
Oyarzo.
Here.
All commissioners are in attendance.
Great. Having a quorum, we'll proceed. First item on this evening on our agenda is minutes of April 10th. It is an action item. Is there any discussion or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2025.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2025. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And motion has passed. Minutes are approved. Before we get into our agenda this evening, we have a couple items under old business this evening, and then we have, I believe, 8 items on our new business, so we're going to try to move things along this evening. But yet we want to make sure that we allow time for all the public testimony and just be thoughtful of that as you're testifying. Okay, first item of business is a final plat under old business for SUB 25-002, the Tamarack Resort PUD 98-1, Phase 3.5, Ponderosa Ridge Subdivision Number 2, the final plat. Is there any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest?
No.
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 Negative.
Okay, seeing none. Cinda?
For the staff report for the final plat, the applicant is Tamarack Resort 2 and Tamarack Real Estate Holdings LLC. Tamarack Resort 2 is requesting final plat approval. The commission will review the final plat to determine conformance with the preliminary plat, approved densities, and conditional use permit. The approved preliminary plat amended Lot 13, Block 19, Phase 2 Village, and a portion of Block 19, Phase 1 Village within the Tamarack Resort PUD boundary. The preliminary plat included 13 villa lots and easements for access, utilities, and a ski lift. Lots average 0.26 acres in size. Changes include an inclusion of open space parcel A, and that's 0.82 acres that's been added to open space. A grading and utility easement has been added to accommodate a water line, a power easement, and a grading easement for future roundabout per the transmittal letter. And I am unable to find that on the plat. The site is served by North Lake Recreational Water and Sewer District and Tamarack Municipal Water. Lots would be accessed from Ponderosa Ridge Court, a paved private road. The applicant's requesting financial guarantees to be secured to obtain approval from the board. The Board of County Commissioners must approve this request prior to approving the final plat for recording. The preliminary plat was approved on March 13th. The final plat application was submitted on April 2nd. Legal notice was posted in the Star News on April 17th and April 24th. Agency comments received since the CUP was approved. Jess Ellis, Donnelly Fire Marshal, stated all roads shall be inspected and approved prior to building permits being issued, and all fire hydrants shall be tested and approved prior to building permits being issued. Lori Frederick, Valley County Cadastral Specialist, has reviewed the final plat and noted minor discrepancies to resolve prior to recording. And then Ralph Miller, the acting Valley County Surveyor, noted minor corrections to be made. Staff comments and questions. Clarify the location of the easement for the future addition of an access roundabout into the Trillium parking lot. If financial guarantees are used to obtain approval of a final plat by the Board of County Commissioners, the following will be required. Financial guarantees for all improvements at 120%. Applicant's engineer will provide cost estimates that will be confirmed by the Valley County engineer and will need to specify the form of guarantee. How will the applicant convey to purchasers that improvements are not completed? On the screen is the final plat. It's located in this area. Here. And that ends my staff report.
Cinda, is the Trillium easement If you go back one page, go back to the application.
470, so there we go.
On the upper part of the screen, that gondolas, is that easement going to be retained?
This easement is going to stay here, and if they ever do put in a gondola or a ski lift, they will have to come back for a CUP.
But it'll be recorded on the plat
Yes,
for the lots.
yes.
Okay. And did we receive any of the answers to the questions that you posed in the staff report?
No, but Scott Turlington is here. He can answer that question. I think it might have just been a holdover.
And then last thing was, did the power, you said you did not find the power easement on the plat?
I don't see the easement for the future access roundabout,
Oh, the roundabout.
the roundabout.
Okay,
I did not see it.
okay. The questions for staff?
None.
And can I clarify?
Yes.
They state in a note or in their transfer letter that there is one. I just don't see it on the plat. I don't think it's needed. But I wanted to clarify that.
Mr. Snyder, did you have a question?
I do not.
Anyone else? Any questions for staff? This time, by the way, this is not a public hearing. This is a final plat. We've already had the public hearing on this. At this time, we'll go ahead and have the applicant come forward. And if you could state your name and address for the record, and then maybe give us your answers.
Scott Turlington, 311 Village Drive, Donley, 83615. And Cinda was correct. It was an oversight on the staff's part that we missed the two on lighting ordinances, but we will comply with Valley County lighting ordinances. We always will. And then also have the requirement for only one wood burning device, which there will be none here, but we will make sure that that is a part of that. So these will have propane. Fireplaces, no natural. So, but we'll make sure that that's a part of it as well and provide those to staff the next day or so.
Okay.
And then as far as the easement for the gondola, it will be there. And when we do put that in, we're probably a few years away. We'll need a conditional use permit, but we won't come back to request that until we're ready to do the installation.
And so if a future buyer of some of those lots there where that easement crosses, they will be made aware specifically that that easement exists, correct?
That's correct. And we have that already occurring in several neighborhoods. Sugarloaf comes to mind. There's a 75-foot easement through the Sugarloaf neighborhood, and when buyers purchase that and the easement's there, it's a part of title, which is where you find all your answers. And then, of course, with this, it's something that we disclose, and we'll have these available in terms of rendering, so people will see that. But these 5 lots here will certainly be aware of those, of the easement that comes through there.
Staff had some questions that they had listed. Did you
On
get a
the
chance to look at those? Cinda, do you want to ask those?
transmittal letter that we received, it says there will be a grading easement to accommodate the future addition of an access roundabout into the future Trillium parking lot. Is that on this plat?
It's not on this one.
Okay, so that was just an error. Okay, carry over.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I apologize on the few mistakes. They let me actually do some of this, and that's why you have mistakes. So I don't normally get to use technology like, pencils and paper, but we'll make sure to clean that up next time.
Hey, any other questions?
Nope.
Is there any motions? It's your pleasure.
I would move to approve sub 25-002 Tamarack Resort PUD 98-1, Phase 3.5 Ponderosa Ridge Subdivision, Number 2, Final Plat, and authorize our chairman to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second to approve the subdivision 25-002. I'm not going to repeat the rest of it. But, is there further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? And motion has passed. Okay. Next item on our agenda this evening is SUB 25-004, the Tamarack Resort PUD 98-1, Phase 3.6 of the Aspen Townhomes, final plat. Again, this is not a public hearing. We have to bring these back for a final plat process. Is there any conflicts or expert take contact?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Cinda?
So the staff report for the Aspen Townhomes final plat. Tamarack Resort 2 is requesting final plat approval. The commission will review the final plat to determine conformance with the preliminary plat, approved densities, and conditional use permit. The commission approved the preliminary plat for Phase 3.6 Aspen Townhomes on March 13th, 2025. The Board of County Commissioners made a final decision for approval on April 28th. Approval was for 62-story townhomes and open space lots on approximately 11 acres. The townhome development will be accessed from Village Drive, a private road within Tamarack Resort. Individual building sites will be accessed from a new internal private road named Dockside Drive. The site is served by North Lake Recreational Sewer and Water District and Tamarack Municipal Water. Minor changes have been made to the preliminary plat. A secondary access was added to meet fire code requirements. The arrangement of the townhomes was modified, and adjustments were made to lot lines to accommodate a slightly wider townhome footprint. The road right-of-way was increased from 30 feet to 40 feet, and open space A and D have been clearly defined as exclusive common open space. The applicant's requesting financial guarantees to fund the infrastructure improvements. The board must approve this request prior to approving the final plat for recording. The preliminary plat was approved by the commission on March 13th. On April 28th, the board approved an amendment to the approved planned unit development for the following. To allow residential lots in an area that was identified as a parking lot in the original PUD by approving a 60 townhome subdivision plat, and then add a 5-acre parcel adjacent to the northeast corner of the current boundary for a parking area named Trillium Parking Lot. Final plat application was submitted on April 2nd. Legal notice was prepared. Jess Ellis, Donnelly Fire, said all roads shall be inspected and approved prior to building permits being issued, and all fire hydrants should be tested and approved prior to building permits being issued. Ralph Miller, acting Valley County Surveyor, noted minor discrepancies to correct prior to recording the final plat. Again, if financial guarantees are used to obtain approval for the final plat by the Board of County Commissioners, they will need those financial guarantees at 120%. Their engineer will provide the cost estimates that will be confirmed by the Valley County engineer, and they will have to specify the form of guarantee. And then how will you convey to purchasers that the improvements are not completed? Again, we need to put the lighting note on there, and then the wood burning device on there. Since the staff report was completed, we received a letter from the Valley County Cadastral Specialist. Each of you have a copy of that. They have found no discrepancies with their review. And that ends my staff. Well, I'll show you, this is the final plat. They added the second access point here. They widened the roads. And this is located again in this area here.
It'd be the, below the two buildings, correct?
Nope, it's here, and it includes this additional 5 acres.
Okay, so where's the new parking lot then?
Here's the plat. This plat does not, oh, the plat does not show the parking lot. Because it won't be platted.
And just so, I think I'm following my map correctly, but to the right, that line, is that the boundary to the West Mountain Road?
Yes, this is West Mountain Road. This is the parking lot that which has the additional 5 acres. And this is the existing Village Drive and this is the current parking lot.
Any questions for Cinda? Commission? Okay. At this time, let's go ahead and have the applicant, if they add anything they want to add.
Nothing to add on this one. Unless there's questions, I would just, I guess, maybe mention the
Maybe
gondola.
for the record, just state your name again.
Scott Turlington, 311 Village Drive.
Thank you.
The gondola easement that we looked at on the previous plat will tie into that parking lot.
Right.
So that will be how we move people up from the parking lot to the lower village.
So can he answer the question about how you're going to convey to purchasers that the improvements are not completed?
In terms of before we sell, if we start selling lots or units before improvements are completed, we'll convey that through the purchase and sale agreement in the documents. And we've done that, for example, like with the lower Sugarloaf lots. So that's how we've done it. We've handled it through addendums and the PSAs.
Okay. So send for clarification, just so that I understand. Should that be recorded in either in the minutes or on this final plat somehow?
Purchase and sales agreement?
About the improvements? Or is that an item that the Board of County Commissioners can take up?
They could probably include that in their motion,
In the boards?
in the board's motion.
We make that as a recommendation to them.
They include the requirement for that to be disclosed in a purchase and sales agreement. That would work. Because if we put it on the plat, it's forever.
Right. But after the improvements are made, then there's no need for it.
So it would be good in a motion. And we keep track of when the road needs to be completed or fire hydrants need to be tested. And won't issue the building permits and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a real estate disclosure. That's where it's handled.
That would be a good way to have a level of
Ensure.
comfort with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, further discussion?
No.
Any discussion or further motions?
I'll move to approve sub 25-004 Tamarack Resort PUD 98-1, Phase 3-6 Aspen Townhomes, final plat, and authorize the chairman to sign.
I'll second.
Do you want to include the recommendation to the board?
With included recommendation to the board.
The seconder agree?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve for final plat subdivision 25-004. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, the motion has passed. Okay, That is the extent of our old business this evening. We will now move on to new business. First item, CUP 22-16 Camp Modern Annual Review. I believe it's been postponed.
Yes, it's been postponed. She's
They're unable to attend
unable
this
to
evening.
attend tonight, but she didn't let us know what meeting she'd like to be on, so we'll just,
Hold that over. Okay. Next item on the agenda this evening is conditional use permit 24-34. It's a wilderness retreat. And this was postponed from February 13th. And was it placed on the table? We have to remove it from the table, or was it just postponed as time certain?
I believe it was just postponed.
Okay, thank you. So having not been tabled, we do not need to remove it from the table. So the item is before us. Is there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contact?
No.
No.
No. Seeing none, Cinda, for staff report.
So the staff report for CUP 2434 Wilderness Retreat. The applicant is Silver 105 LLC. The site is addressed at 105 Silver Fox Spur. And it is 8.6 acres in the northwest of Section 8, Township 17 North, Range 4 East of the Boise Meridian, Valley County, Idaho. Nathan Pickens is requesting a conditional use permit for 3 cabin rentals, a commercial kitchen, a 30 by 40 steel frame residence, and a 25-foot converted shipping container for hosts. This is a total of 5 dwelling units. Proposed density is 0.58 dwelling units per acre. Both short-term and long-term cabin rentals are proposed. The site would use an existing well and individual septic systems. Electrical power for the site is provided by Idaho Power. A community fireplace is proposed. The applicant has stated that the existing ground-mounted solar panel will be removed. This solar panel did not obtain the required conditional use permit. During winter, a 6-person side-by-side would be used to shuttle guests with parking at leased bases near Highway 55. This site is currently unidentified. Any creation of a parking lot in unincorporated areas will require a conditional use permit. Proposed quiet hours are 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Access would be from Silver Fox Spur, a private road that was validated by the board in order to give it a name for addressing purposes. Silver Fox Spur is approximately 30 feet or less traveled private road within a 70-foot easement. The property does have an existing easement that is used to access the property to the north. Building permits for the property were for a single-family residence, which has not been constructed, and an existing 30 by 40 metal shop, but it was not permitted for residential use. He has prepared a phasing plan. On April 30th, the applicant submitted additional information. The maximum number of people on site, including the host, is 14. No RVs or tents will be allowed to supplement occupancy. No events such as weddings will be allowed. Guests will be transported to the site to reduce traffic and manage liability. Applicant's legal counsel has reviewed the easement documentation and found no restriction on commercial use. Electrical power is provided by Idaho Power. Solar panels will be removed. There's an updated site plan. Metal shipping containers currently used for temporary construction storage. If retained, they will be permitted and added to the site plan. Silver Fox Spur is a 70-foot easement, and it was developed following a logging operation. A formal road maintenance agreement is in progress and will be submitted when finalized. Off-site parking will be on property owned by Anna and Rod Butler. Their CUP will be updated as needed. Central District Health confirmed that tank capacity is adequate. The drain fill will be expanded and an updated permit submitted to Central District Health. A stormwater management plan will be submitted prior to water tank installation. A wildland urban interface fire protection plan is attached. There will be no open fire rings. A fixed propane fireplace will be used. All buildings will be equipped with extinguishers, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors. Guests will be required to restrain animals. Each cabin will have posted rules, emergency contacts, and an exit plan, and lighting will be compliant. The application was submitted on December 23rd. Legal notice was prepared. On February 5th, the applicant requested that the public hearing be postponed from February 13th to May 8th. Property owners within 300 feet of the property line were notified of the public hearing postponement by mail sent February 5th. Legal notice was again prepared. Agency comments received. Mike Reno, Central District Health, stated the septic system is currently not sized to accommodate a communal kitchen and 5 dwelling units. The permitted septic system is only sized to accommodate a 3-bedroom home and a shop with a shower and toilet. The applicant would need to submit an application for a septic system to accommodate all proposed uses, conduct test holes, and monitor groundwater before Central District Health can comment further. Jess Ellis, Donley Fire Marshal, stated the district cannot recommend approval with the current state of fire apparatus access road. The project, to gain approval, the roads need to be constructed to Idaho Fire Code standards, inspected and approved prior to construction. The approved fire protection water supply would be a 10,000-gallon underground water storage tank connected to a well with automatic fill capability. He listed requirements for access, roads, water supply, driveways, addressing security gates, and burning. He also commented specifically on road requirements and exceptions. Dan Coons, Valley County Public Works Engineer, stated the road accessing the site is private. It has no county maintenance, nor is it designed to county standards. Emily Hart, McCall Airport Manager, has no comments, and DEQ submitted their standard letter that addresses air quality, wastewater, drinking water, surface water, solid waste, hazardous waste, water quality, groundwater contamination, and BMPs. Public comments received. John and Linda Laz, 130 Silver Fox Spur, are opposed to increasing the number of strangers, noise, traffic density, and trespassing. They're concerned that their access easement through this property would be affected by construction. Ronald Pasco, 600 Silver Fox Spur, stated Silver Fox Spur needs to be widened or turnouts constructed to allow trucks and trailers to pass without having to back up a long distance. Matt and Jennifer Hurlbut supported the ability to use their property for allowed, to use your own property for allowed by code. However, they have concerns regarding road maintenance and fire. Will Hopkins owns property on Silver Fox Spur. He supports the project as he believes property owners have the right to use their property as long as it is repeatable for surrounding property owners. Abe and Keel Vor, 420 Silver Fox Spur, support the request. The site is relatively steep slopes. Less slope is at the top of the hill where the buildings are planned, and the site is primarily forested. It's surrounded by agricultural timber areas, and then the north is future Phase 5 of Jug Mountain Ranch PUD, and to the west is a single-family residence. Listed various codes from the Valley County Code for your review. Staff's compatibility rating was a positive 12. The site is within the Donley Fire District and Water District 65D. It's not within an irrigation district or HERD district. Off-site parking will require a CUP. What happens if that use is not approved? The Butlers will need to update their CUP. Their permit is for storage of containers. All buildings and shipping containers require building permits. Solar panels greater than 8 square feet and not on the primary residence require a CUP. There appears to be only 2 existing building permits for the property. The existing metal shop and a single-family residence that has not been constructed. What's the proposed square footage of each of the 3 cabins? Minimum setbacks are 50 feet from the rear and front lines and 30 feet from the side property lines. Silver Fox Spur is a 70-foot easement that was recently validated as a private road. Proposed conditions of approval. You want me to read all these?
No,
They're just our standard typical ones. The ones that are specific to this are shall mark property lines so guests do not enter other private lands. Must restrain animals. Each habitable space shall have rules, emergency contacts, and emergency exit plan posted. These must be submitted to P&Z staff, must clearly post the maximum number of guests allowed. Maximum occupancy on site is 12, including hosts. There shall be no associated RVs or tents used to supplement the maximum occupancy of guests. A revised site plan is needed that shows the setbacks, easements, property lines. Building permits are required. Quiet hours, no events. Part any site grading, they'll need a stormwater management plan. And give notice to guests concerning safety issues in regard to the access road, potential for fire and lack of available emergency services, convenience services. And since the staff report was completed, we received additional correspondence. And each of you have copies of this in your pack, the files you picked up. Exhibit 1 is from Rick Jacobs. He is the owner of 49 Silver Fox Spur. Mr. Pickens' property has an easement to use his road as the other property owners do. It's a private road that was established in 1991. The easement is for ingress and egress to get to and from property. It's a primitive road, and at the time Valley County approved it, there were no regulations. He bought his property, was to build a single-family home, which they're in the process of now. Adding commercial road and traffic would take away the reason he bought it, and he opposes. Exhibit 2 is from Dennis J. Whitmer, managing partner of Famco Investments. He has a strong objection. He believes property should be used for residential uses and that commercial uses should not be allowed. They would like to split their 20-acre parcel into two 10-acre parcels. That's another matter. 11.6 commercial units on their 20 acres would be the similar. And they'd like to construct a family cabin and recreate in the surrounding areas. Exhibit 3 is from Julie Ann Frazier. Her concerns are traffic impact concerns, personal safety, security of personal property, and liability. They purchased their property for the spectacular views. It's wild, undamaged property. Exhibit 4 is from Jeff Abrams. He's reviewed the CUP for Nate Pickens' Wilderness Project, and he's in supporting documents. He's in support of the project and believes Mr. Pickens has demonstrated good faith efforts to account for any associated impacts on local resources and the adjacent neighbors. Mr. Pickens' actions as neighbor and steward of his land in the years since he purchased the property has led him to conclude that he has high regard for the community. Exhibit 5 from Ann Pagano. She's writing in support of the Wilderness Retreat. The retreat presents a thoughtful opportunity for visitors to experience the natural beauty and quiet of Valley County, a mix of short and long-term rentals. I believe it's a well-balanced approach to sustainable development and encourages approval. Those were all the additional exhibits that we received.
Which property in Pagano?
Ann Pagano.
See the address for that one? I understand where it was.
It's not bringing it up. Oh, this is Silver Fox Spur. comes off a Silver Fox Trail at the top of the Jug Handle Highlands subdivisions. And it goes up through Mr. Jacobs' property and then this is the other people. It's the family compound. Amco Investments, right there. And then it goes over through Jeff Abrams' property, mowers, more Jeff Abrams' property, and then up into where this wilderness retreat is proposed here. Yep.
So it's outside of the Jug Handle subdivision,
Yes.
original plat.
Now, this was done, Jan Warnsice did all of these splits up here, 20-acre pieces in about 1997. And then he didn't provide anybody with access, but there was this old logging road. And so then he gave everybody an easement on the logging road. It was quite the thing for a few years, trying to get all of this straight. Since then, some people have done lot line adjustments. We've issued conditional use permits up here for yurts. I believe Hurlbut has a yurt. No, Jeff Abrams has one up here too. There's another CUP up in here for a yurt that accommodates guests. Surrounding this is state land here. And to the north is phase 5 of Jug Mountain. Okay. This is pretty steep here, and it has this switchback. And then here's, let's see. This is the plan for the property. He's got a couple cabins, 3 cabins he's gonna put on. Gonna convert the shipping container, his metal shop. I know there are some pictures in here. Samples of his lights. You got the staff report.
The pictures are in the back.
They are? Okay.
Cinda, I looked at the application and I was looking for
Here we go.
for a detailed site plan and site grading plan. And didn't see a lot. I mean, I don't know if you can see this one.
Right, and that's why we asked him for another site plan.
Okay,
And then he submitted the one down here that I initially showed you. This one. Okay. Zoom in. This is his shop. Let's see what's going on here. All of his activities will be up in this area. And will require the stormwater management plan when he puts the tank in.
the fire protection tank.
And so as far as the status of the road, so this is a private road, but not to private road standards.
It's started as a 70-foot wide easement. We validated it as a private road so that it would have a name and addressing
Accommodate those splits.
to accommodate the splits and emergency services. It is not built to the Valley County adopted private road standards, such that people put in their subdivisions.
we have any road maintenance agreements currently?
We have asked, the neighborhood is working on it. But he has said that he's going to transport people in.
Is the logging operation done?
I can't hear you.
The logging operation, is it done?
Yes.
Someone could do that at any point.
Yeah.
But the applicant is here and he can answer a lot of your questions, I'm sure.
There may be other questions, I suspect, from the commission for you probably after the public hearing is closed. At this point in time, we'll have any other questions for staff? At this point in time, we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. I assume that's you since you're at the podium.
It's true. I'm Nathan Pickens with 105 Silver Fox Spur.
Okay.
And some of the questions that I heard I can address. Ann Pagano is Luke Hopkins' wife. So it's the Hopkins property. So
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Ann Pagano, I think is how is Luke Hopkins' wife.
Okay.
That makes sense. So when you were looking for the property, it's the Hopkins property. My property sits on a ridge line with slopes both to the east and west, and we plan on building directly in the center of that ridge line. So there's no site grading work that needs to be completed. We just need to dig for our foundations for the 20 by 20 cabins that we're going to be putting in. We currently have a temporary shipping container that we built just as a camp when I first started. I've been up there. I've owned the property for 7 years now, and it was originally just going to be a cabin for me to live in part-time for fun. And then being up there, I've just decided that it's such an amazing location that I really feel like it's something that should be shared with other people. And I'm in the outdoor industry myself. I own a sales agency and we work with outdoor brands, and a place like this would be awesome for bringing dealer camps in to test products, doing leadership workshops, and that sort of thing. It's essentially going to be set up as a retreat so that folks from around the country, world, will be able to come in and use all the great things that Valley County has to offer. I intend to hire a full-time staff. They will be living in the shipping container. We will have, that person will be responsible for delivering people to this property. We understand that it's a very steep road and not appropriate for general public. So we plan on using a four-wheel drive vehicle of some sort. We haven't decided exactly how that's going to look yet. But the intent is to pick them up at the Butlers and deliver them to this property so they can recreate and not have to worry about their cars or getting up and down the road or having any issues with neighbors. The staff will be required to have medical certifications in case there's any type of emergencies. I will also be getting medical certification for myself. I live there full-time currently and will be converting the shop to a full-time residence. I'm going through the engineering process to move that shop permit to a residential permit right now. Yeah. Any other questions that?
So questions for the applicant? I have a couple.
Sure.
So talk to me about where people are going to park their cars. You said at the Butlers.
Yes,
Where is that?
that is
On East Lake Fork.
it's off of Lake Fork Road. It is 13841 Wild Goose Court.
And is that part of your application for this permit?
We will be doing an additional amendment to their CUP to allow for car parking rather than right now they have a CUP for storage containers. So they have, I don't know, 20 storage containers or something like, I don't know how many, on the property. It's large enough. I went to the site. We looked at places for people to park, and there's plenty of access, and plenty of space for that.
And then I have some other concerns or questions that need to be answered about capacity for drain fields and Central District Health.
Yep, absolutely. So currently it's a 3-bedroom with a shop permit. I spoke to them and they said that my tanks are correctly sized, but my field is not. So I would need to add additional rows of septic on the current septic field. It will be 5 total bedrooms rather than the 3. And there'll be no shop. The shop will be the one that I'm using now. That's already permitted.
And you're aware of the fire district
We are,
not,
yep.
not
Yep.
recommending the approval.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It is a steep road and it's very difficult for apparatus to get up there. So we've hired a fire mitigation expert to help us come up with a fire mitigation plan that you guys have in your hand. It'll be basically pulling the trees around the cabins back, limbing everything around it up to 70 feet or 100 feet. I can't remember exactly what. We'll be following all the recommendations of the fire mitigation plan. In addition, it sounds like the fire marshal is asking for a 10,000 gallon tank. And that is something that I had anticipated as well, so that we have some fire suppression. Currently, the property is about 22 minutes from the Donnelly Fire Station. So essentially, if there's a structure fire, even in the best of conditions, I'm outside their response time.
A fire mitigation plan, is that addressing access?
We will be accessing it with our vehicle, so they won't be able to access it with apparatus. We will have to evacuate and remove people from the site.
I don't think he understood your question. Can a fire truck get up there? Can SIPA
Summertime it can,
Well,
wintertime it cannot.
Yeah, I think that the letter that's why I was curious if there's plans for road improvements to bring this up to a county spec where fire trucks can get to this location.
It's the issue that the fire marshal has is that switchback. We have a 70-foot easement. I think there can be some mitigation on that corner to make it flatter, in order for a fire apparatus to make it around the corner.
Do you know what the grade
I believe there is it's a intermix of between 5% to 18%. It's steep.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Where you have that switchback, does the owner of that property agree that
With the road users agreement, there is a road users agreement currently in place, and that splits up maintenance. It's supposed to set up a fund. If you sell property, you're supposed to put money into the fund. About 3/4 of the property owners have signed that road users agreement. It was in place before I purchased my property 7 years ago. It allows for the users of the easement to make improvements. We have to give written notice to the landowners, and that's pretty much the only requirement.
you'll have to help me here, there's a road user agreement, but people haven't signed it?
Yep.
So there's no real road agreement?
Yeah,
There's an agreement
it
between
was,
two
I think, a
people,
little
but
Wild
not-
West before my time. Yep.
So re-ask your second part of your question again, because I don't think he heard it.
So the portion of the road that has the switchback,
Yep.
is the owner of that portion of the road,
He is against.
and so your chances of putting in a mitigation there at that corner are limited, or do you have a legal right to,
I have a legal right to improve the road.
you can do the mitigations within the easement of the road?
Yep.
And would that, well, that may not be a fair question, but do you know if that would bring the road up to the fire chief's?
I don't know.
Requirements?
We have not. That was the corner in question when we spoke last.
There's another mention of a bridge. One of the comments, is there a bridge that
No,
crossed?
no.
That's a different, apologize. And I think, I just want to get it clear in my mind on the septic system.
Mhm.
In your application, you said you had the tanks was sized appropriately, you just had to add drain fill.
Mhm.
Have you went back and reviewed that with Central District Health?
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Verbally, I have. I have not resubmitted the application to accommodate this, and that'll be before building permitting.
they're fine with people living in the container?
Yep.
Storage container?
Yep.
Other questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank
We'll
you.
go ahead and have the public hearing, and after that's over, you'll have a chance to have a rebuttal. Okay, at this point in time, we'll go ahead and open the public portion of the hearing. Are there proponents, those people that would like to speak in favor of the application? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak that is undecided? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak that is opposed to the application? You'd come up and state your name and address for the record. We usually limit these discussions for about 3 minutes, so
I'll try to be brief.
make efficient use of your time.
Name's Dan Fraser. I own the property at 80 Silver Fox Spur, one of the properties that this will cross. Anyways, there was some misinformation that was given here. They cross 6 parcels of land on this road. This easement does to get to Nate's property, 5 property owners. Of those 5 property owners, Jeff Abrams is the only one in for it. The rest are all against it. I own one of the longest stretches of road. It's I have almost 1,200 foot of that road. It is between, I would say 7%, which would be a steep highway, to 18%, and a lot of it is between 12 and 14, most of the road, which the county's rules for a private road is 10% is maximum. So we're almost double the county's standard as far as grade. It is impossible to lower the grade of that. I am a general contractor. I build roads. It is impossible to change that road grade. You have to either make a road longer or you have to go back and forth in switchbacks. There's not enough room in that 70-foot easement, even for the spoils it would take to widen that road into the hillside. Those spoils would end up falling on our property, which is between 39 and 43 degrees of slope. So it's steep off the side of the road. No guardrails, no safety mechanisms, no signs. This road, 1, shouldn't be a road, but 2, it certainly shouldn't have commercial traffic or people up there that aren't from here, that aren't used to being in the woods, aren't used to being on gravel roads in the wintertime, snow and ice. Rick Jacobs, who wanted to be here, but he's working in Indiana right now, he's towed 3 cars out off his property that have come up there, street tires, slid off the road, middle of the night. He saved 2 of these hikers that came down. They went up on Jug Handle hiking, got lost in the dark, came down stumbled across Rick's shop, which is the only thing up there that had power at the time. They found his light. They were near dead. He brought him in his shop and let him warm up for a few hours to get off the hill, and he took him to town. But anyways, the things I want to bring up, this road, she mentioned that it was 30 feet wide. It is absolutely not 30 feet wide. I don't know that there's anywhere other than in the corners that this road is 30 feet wide. It is between 12 and 15 foot wide, its entire length. In a lot of places, it is only 12. There is nowhere to pass. There are two places to pass on my property in that 1,200 foot of road, and there's the corner where the fire marshal or the fire chief or whatever says he can't make the turn with his truck, which would be going on to Rick's property and off the easement to let somebody by.
That's a timer, but try to conclude your
I'll try.
remarks.
I'll try to be quick here.
Yeah,
So I
you
have.
bet.
So besides those issues with the road, there's we have been told you can't get insurance up there, can't get fire insurance, can't get anything up there. So I'm not sure how you can have a business run up there. Nate has an issue with a gate that's up there. He refuses to lock one of the owner's gates at his property. He leaves it open every time he goes through. He never locks it. Only time he locks it is when he leaves his property and goes to work around the country wherever he goes. That's the only time he locks the gate. So he has a disregard for his neighbors and their property. Anyways, so the number of trips that he's saying of 8 trips per day, I don't see how you get 14 people up there in 8 trips. I don't see how when they got to go back to town to get something they forgot in their car, they want to go to town and eat, they want to go to town and go shopping or to the hot springs or wherever. Those trips are probably going to be more like somewhere 15 to 20 trips a day. So a road up there, we are building our house up there at the top, okay, and that will probably start sometime this summer. We're going to start moving dirt up there. That will make 3 houses on that private road, which then makes it illegal for him by county standards to actually do this very item that he's trying to do. All right. Sorry. So, and just so you know, I'm going to read this part, but Nate's a friend of mine. I like Nate, okay? I don't like what he's doing, and I wouldn't be in business with Nate, okay? So, Nate has a habitual disregard for laws and rules, and part of this COP is for he's going to comply to all these issues that you guys are bringing up, okay? Nate has 20 traffic violations, okay? He has, of those 20 traffic violations, of these permits that you're all saying he needs to fill out and he needs to be responsible for and insurance and all that, okay?
Could you keep your comments
One of
to
them-
the, excuse me.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm trying to make a character of...
You can be
of-
done. Just listen to me for a second.
Okay.
Keep your comments in regard to the application.
Okay, I'm trying to say is that a history, a large history, and I'll give you the document, the county document that actually shows all the infractions, the failure to appears, all of those things, which just shows a history that he doesn't comply to the rules, okay? There are failure to pays, all those kind of issues. As to the road agreement, there is no road agreement, okay? There is a piece of paper that a year after I bought my property was not part of our documents, that someone came and showed me that 5 of the property owners had signed. That's all the names I saw on there. Nobody else has signed that. No one else has agreed to it, okay? By the statement of their easement, they are 100% responsible for where they have an easement is to maintain the road, okay? I asked Nate what his plan was for maintenance, and he said one day he hoped he could do that. Not that he had a plan, not that he intended to, but he hoped he could one day. Okay?
Try to wrap it up in the next 30 seconds.
Okay. I asked him about trespassing. I have a large rock face that is right on the same property line as him on our property. What's he going to do? And he said, I'll post a trespassing sign. Nobody pays attention to him. They're going to walk right onto that rock face and climb it because you can see it from Google Earth. Anyways, my wife and I, Mr. Jacobs, Johnny Walker, who was the first piece of property that they covered, then they crossed mine, and Rick Jacobs, and then Mel Moore, all of them are opposed to this. I've spoke to every one of them personally.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
There are other people who would like to speak that are opposed to the application. Sir, come up to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Welcome.
I'm Mel Moore, a fellow property owner up there. 40 acres on the south side of his parcel, and it's a tree farm for me. I'm opposed to it primarily because of I've had people picking my huckleberries when I have posted signs, no trespassing. It's a wilderness retreat for them. They're going to go on my property, and I'm worried about the liability, the tree falling on them, something like that. The road is an issue too. It's fairly steep. Is not a good road for people to be using in the winter, and ice and snow. Very, very dangerous. Anyway, again, I like Nate, but I'm opposed to his project. Thank you.
Mel, a question for you. Do you know of any of the road agreement?
Pardon me?
Is there a road agreement that you're aware of?
Yes. This was signed and instituted 15 years ago, though, and it's not been enforced. But it is a legal and road agreement on all of the property owners.
Okay.
It's recorded by the county too, if you wish to look it up.
All right, thank you. Others who are opposed to the application that would like to speak? Okay. Seeing no other testimony at this point in time, we'll go ahead and bring it to the applicant for a rebuttal.
I'd like to address a few of the concerns. I think there might be a misunderstanding of people driving their own vehicle up and down the road, which is not our intent at all. We'll be driving people up to the property, and the reason for that is all of the reasons they've stated. It is a difficult place to get to, and that's the draw. It's part of Idaho to be out in the backcountry, and this is a backcountry experience that we're offering people. There was some talk of me not showing up for court or whatever. That's not. There is another Nathan Pickens in Valley County, but I don't have any of that. I don't know what he's talking about, but that's not me. I think he's got the wrong guy. Yeah, we will be doing a orientation with each guest that's coming up with the staff, letting people know that they're on private property. They're in a private area, so to respect those private properties. And that is how we're going to mitigate people from trespassing, along with posting signs along our property line to show people where they are allowed.
Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. We'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation, discussion, and questions, and see where it goes.
I have a question for staff. Have we reviewed the easement? Is there commercial use? Is that something that's allowable through the easement?
I don't make those legal judgments. But part of his presentation or application was that his legal counsel did review it, and it does not prohibit commercial use. There is another CUP up here
Okay,
for commercial rental
okay.
on Jeff Abrams' property.
The yurt.
Yurt.
I have concerns regarding the grade. I think, we have the fire department telling us that they can't access it. And we have a commercial kitchen, commercial fire that they're discussing. And from my standpoint, it just does not seem like a safe option. If we can't even get vehicles to this point, they're having to off-road people up there. If there was an accident or a fire, it could be disastrous.
Okay,
Just to clarify, it is accessible. I've driven up this road.
but
It sounds like not during the winter. They have to
No.
use the side-by-side to get up there.
Not by the fire truck apparatus,
And
right? Correct.
right.
At least not the Donley fire.
there's specific standards for fire code for steepness of roads. I know it's been an issue. They need turnarounds, they need widths.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 18% grade,
I think the limit is maybe 10% max, but that's recollection.
And to think along the same lines where fire act, if the Donley Fire Department is not recommending approval for this, as a commission need to take very carefully. If it was a single home, I understand the risks and that's what you're taking, but if you're putting a commercial business with 3 houses and various outbuildings up there, then
You know, when I did the compatibility rating, I actually came up with a negative score. Because when I do these, especially questions 4 through 9, I look at them is what is the application doing above and beyond to give it a positive? What is it lacking if it goes negative? And in a lot of cases, I answered 0, and in a couple of them, I did negatives. For instance, number 5 says, is the size or scale of the proposed lots or structures similar to adjacent ones? Well, they're not. And if they're not, then that goes into a negative score for me. Number 8 question, I think, is what we're centering around, and it's the proposed use compatible with the abilities of the public agencies to provide service and/or public facilities to accommodate the proposed use, demands on utilities, fire, police, protection, schools, roads, traffic, and so forth. To me, that one is a real problem. And it got a -2 for me on that score. But I know when I looked it over, that was my thoughts. I think there's concerns about the Central District Health may be able to be addressed, maybe not. But I think overall, in my mind, the reason we have a lot of questions is I think the application is not a complete application, because you would actually submit an application that answers those questions and solves those problems before it ever gets to us. But I think the safety, we're charged by Idaho law to make decisions that protect the health, safety, and welfare of the state of Idaho and its citizens and the visitors. And I think this application, in my mind, falls short.
I would tend to agree with you there. There sounds like they're still in progress and working with affected neighbors for the formal access to the state lands. And I would envision lots of recreation going on at this retreat. So definite risk of trespass on private property. That's all I have to add to that.
Other comments, other deliberations? Are there motions?
make a motion that we decline CUP 2434 Wilderness Retreat. based on the discussions that we have narrated and documented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny conditional use permit 24-34, the Wilderness Retreat. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has, or is there any opposed to the motion? Thought I heard it unanimous. Okay. Seeing none, the motion has passed and the application is denied. There is a 10-day appeal period, which anyone can appeal this to the Board of County Commissioners. Okay,
Did you leave your compatibility? Which is
yeah.
interesting.
I will. Back to all
Do you want everyone's? Do you want everyone's?
Yeah, if you can leave your compatibility here.
Okay, does anybody need a break or anything? Are you okay? All right, keep going? Okay. Next up this evening is conditional use permit 23-19, which is the Whispering Creek Estate. It's an extension request. Is there any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest?
No.
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 No. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and have staff report on the extension. This is a public hearing and an action item.
Okay, the staff report for CUP 2319, Whispering Creek Estates. The applicant's Donnelly Ranches LLC. Skylar Chambers is requesting a 2-year extension of the CUP and preliminary plat approval that expires May 31st of 2025. Approval was for a 37-lot single-family residential subdivision with a common area including pond and amenities. The subdivision name was changed from Cascade Valley Estates to Whispering Creek Estates, and that will be reflected on the final plat. Extension is requested as the applicant is working towards approval from the Army Corps of Engineers North Lake Sewer District. So he did prepare a spreadsheet listing tasks and completion status. A well on the property would provide central water. The applicant has proposed that central sewer would be provided by North Lake Recreational Sewer and Water. Lots would be accessed from a new internal paved private road. These roads would access onto both Norwood and Nisula, both of which are public roads. And he will dedicate additional right-of-way, and he will pave a portion of Norwood Road. He did submit a wildland urban interface fire protection plan. There's a 10-foot wide landscape berm on the east and north property boundary. The property does have water rights, and the land is currently irrigated by sprinklers, irrigation well, and above-ground pipe. The proposed subdivision would use sprinkler, irrigation well, and underground pipe. Property has 2 wells. One will be used to fill the pond. The extension request was submitted March 24th. Legal notice was prepared. SLS Donnelly Fire Marshal stated all prior requirements shall remain in effect. His previous comments are attached. Mike Reno, Central District Health, has no objection to the extension. And Emily Hart, the McCall Airport Manager, has no comments. We received no comments from the public. Sites within the Donnelly Fire District, Water District 65, and the Herd District. It's not within an irrigation district, but does have water rights. Part of the site is in the designated floodplain. Base flood elevations have been determined, and wetlands do exist on the property. Prior to final plat submittal of the following, I listed things that will be required. And you each received a copy of Skylar's spreadsheet showing how much he has completed. And he just continues to work through those tasks. The plat is shown up on the screen for you. And we are located parcel right here. That ends my staff report.
Any questions for Senda on the request for extension? Senda, I do have one quick one on the spreadsheet that he submitted. Can you tell how many of those items? Sorry, my screen is at 90 degrees, so I'm looking sideways here. So they're completed. Oh, you got one printed out. What I'm after is the ones that are in process. Can you tell if those are long-term approval process applications? And is that standard?
I believe his biggest challenge right now is working with Northlake on the sewer. And he's waiting on that DEQ approval that they have enough capacity. He is here to tell you about that.
Okay.
And he's working with Army Corps for the delineation.
That one can go on for some time, I think. If I remember correctly.
He submitted plans to the Valley County engineer. And then we'll get the development agreement done when he gets closer to final plat.
Good questions for staff?
No.
No.
Okay. We'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. Come up and state your name and address for the record. Welcome to the commission.
Thank you. Skylar Chambers, 1772 North, 3300 East, Layton, Utah. Yeah, so we have a couple of things that have been in process for over a year on this. One of them being working with the Army Corps of Engineers to get our water approval. We have, everything has been submitted.
Oh, sorry, Skylar, can you push the microphone up?
Sorry. Everything has been submitted, and we, once we submitted that, we actually had to go in and do an archaeological site study. And so we did that last fall. We have turned that back into the Army Corps and are just waiting on their final results. They did not have any findings as far as the archaeological report went, so everything should be good on that, but that was the last requirement. And we submitted that in January and have not heard back from them yet. With the North Lake Sewer, we actually have 360 use permits that we received when we purchased the property. And so we are trying to clarify those with them. And we've had a little bit of an issue there as what the agreement that we received, how it can be used. And so we are in the process of legally trying to figure that out. And then I think those are the main issues that we still have to resolve, and then we'll start construction on this.
One quick question, Skylar. The well, has it been tested periodically?
So a couple of things. We actually went out and had the well tested, and the lining on that is not sufficient, so we have to construct a new well next to it. We actually had the Idaho Division of Water Rights up there today, and they tested the existing well for the capacity, and then we have to transfer those rights to a new well on the property. So that's one of the other issues that we've been dealing with throughout this whole process.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Great. Thank you. We'll go ahead and it's a public hearing. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak as proponent in favor of the extension request? Is there anyone that would like to speak who is undecided? And is there anyone who would like to speak opposed to the extension request for this conditional use permit? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of that. You are entitled to a rebuttal, but nobody said anything, so, all right. Thank you. Bring it back to the commission for deliberation.
Seems like a pretty straightforward, he's trying to simply extend, he's working on it, working through some issues, but needs additional time.
Yep.
Lots of red tape.
So I would just make a comment that I really like the detail in the spreadsheet showing the progress. Thank you.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
Very helpful.
Very helpful.
And we did have an exhibit, I'm sorry, I didn't bring that up. It's from Ken Purdom, he's the adjacent landowner to the west.
Okay.
And he believes this project will benefit the immediate area as well as Valley County as a whole.
Any other comments or questions?
That goes over there. Oh, maybe I'm-
Any motions?
I would move to approve CUP 23-19 Whispering Creek Estates Extension Request.
I'll second.
Can you
been-
put a timeline on it, please?
Oh. Did he put
2-year.
2-year?
He's requesting a 2-year extension.
That seems fair.
I think that's fair.
Okay, it's been agreed by the seconder. So the motion is to approve a 2-year extension for conditional use permit 23-19. Any further discussion or motions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? And motion has passed. There is a 10-day appeal period, which anyone can appeal the decision of this commission. Okay. Next up is conditional use permit 22-06, Schaefer subdivision. This is also an extension request. Is there any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest?
No.
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 No. Okay, Cinda?
It's so big, my hand won't grasp it. Oh, CUP 2206 Schaefer subdivision extension request. Brian Schaefer is requesting a 1-year extension of the CUP and final plat approval that expires on June 7th, 2025. Additional time is requested to finalize the requirements for approval and recording of the final plat. Approval was for a 4-lot mixed-use subdivision that includes heavy industrial, which is a lumber mill, light industrial, multiple residence, and single-family residential uses, as well as a Craftsman Learning Academy. The Craftsman Learning Academy is the highlight for Lot 1 with residential uses for students on Lot 2 and possibly Lot 4. The expected completion date for Phase 1 is November 30th of 2025. All uses are to be established within 5 years of the original approval. Access would be from Highway 55 and Spink Lane, both public roads. The 14.7 acre site is addressed at 13526 Highway 55. Individual wells and individual septic systems are proposed. A floodplain designation is shown on the plat. There would be no building within the floodplain or wetlands. There's an updated phasing plan and timeline that were presented in your staff report. These will be encapsulated in the development agreement. The applicant stated the extension request that requires changes have been made to the plat, which has not yet been submitted. They're working with Central District Health, and a professional has been recruited to manage the Mountain Master Building Apprenticeship Program with a goal of fall 2026 start date. The development agreement and declaration of utilities needs to be finalized. The extension was submitted March 24th. Legal notice was completed. Agency comments received. Kendra Conder, ITD, stated the current approach on Highway 55 is unpermitted approach and does not meet ITD standards. An ITD encroachment permit is required. Mike Reno, Central District Health, has no objection to a time extension. A revised engineering report, groundwater information, and better explanation on proposed uses are needed. Jess Ellis, Donnelly Fire Marshal, has no comments. Emily Hart, McCall Airport Manager, has no comments. Public comments received. Marshall Haynes and Peggy McMillan. Concerns include safety implications for Highway 55 and Spink Lane. And they attached a safety analysis report. The proposal adds 3 new access driveways onto Spink Lane and a building variance that narrows potential Highway 55 improvements in the future. This area and Spink Lane were not listed in the 2023 Valley County Master Transportation Plan. Adding development away from incorporated areas causes greater sprawl and increased costs to residents and taxpayers. Additionally, the Payette Land Trust has recently began efforts to protect the scenic byway corridor along Highway 55 between Donnelly and Lake Fork. If an extension is approved, additional conditions regarding road improvements should be adopted. Kathleen Trevor and Tom Peppersack at 28 Spink Lane stated the P&Z review should confirm what the uses are to review the appropriateness of conditions. The Department of Water Resources permits for the new wells allow domestic water use for single-family residences, not multi-unit or commercial use. Have the required agency approvals been obtained and have the conditions of approval been met? Has the proposed use changed from what was approved? Staff questions, comments, and recommendations. A new final plat showing required changes was not submitted. The development agreement is required, and that will define the allowed uses on each lot for the phasing plan. And then they must meet with Dan Kuntz, Valley County Engineer, concerning off-site road improvements. The motion from the final plat approval was as follows. I listed that. The applicant should confirm the approved phasing deadlines will be met, particularly phase 1. This is the site. Here. Now this is Kathleen and Thomas. They actually, when this was originally approved, they appealed to the board, and that appeal was denied. And then Marshall Haynes lives, I believe, those were the 2 opponents to it. There's an existing mill here. Existing sawmill. And that ends my staff report.
Questions for staff? So, Cindy, did they submit progress on their applications?
Yeah, Brian Schaefer submitted something March 24th. And he talked about, it was in your packet,
This one?
he talked about why progress, because of the COVID. And he listed his performance to date. And then he still has to finalize items 1, 2, and 5 above and finalize the development agreement and then the declaration of utilities.
So there was a comment in the letter about new approaches onto Spink.
Yep.
That's 3 different approaches?
I'll show you the plot.
I'm not,
This is the plat. There's a lot here, and a lot here. This is Spink Lane. There'll be access from here going completely down to Lot 1. There's going to be some multifamily stuff in this location, and I believe this location. So there'll be access on these 3 lots.
okay, thank you.
Off of Spink. They have an existing approach here. Their sawmill. This is up a ridge. I don't know if you're familiar with it. On top of the ridge up here.
Any other questions? At this time, we'll go ahead and, if there's no other questions, we'll hear from the applicant or their representative. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jim Frank, and I live at 14028 Norwood Road, McCall. Appreciate you taking your time tonight and hear this extension. Believe me, we don't want to have another one, but unfortunately, we're erring on the side of caution because it's up on June 7th. Can go through the list of staff questions, but as the application currently stands, there's no change from the previous one, the original one that's been submitted, and the continuance from the last time, from when we asked for another year. As far as what are where we're at with the process, we're finishing up some details with the health district on sizing of septic systems. Wetland delineation has been completed, and reports in the process. There will be, with this application, not any wetland impacts associated with a nationwide or 404 permit. And let's see. The letter from ITD about the non-permitted interests, we believe them to be an error, and that we're working with them to show them that this is a formally permitted site, no land use has changed. I think it's just a new person that didn't come in and look at the file all the way and just gave a quick letter. So that we're working on that.
Which approach are they contesting?
The original mill site,
It drops that one right there.
yeah, I think I just didn't look deep enough, and it's a new person working on it, so we'll get to the bottom of that. It's required, but we don't believe it is. Yeah, let's see, all the plat changes have made on prior comments, and we're just finalizing up the document. Some of this is a problem with our team. We had some scheduling issues and some personal family losses, so it kind of pushes around our schedule. Other than that, stand for questions.
Any questions for the representative?
Could you give me a summary of the progress that's been made on the project? I think this is the second extension.
Yes, sir. As you're aware, the mill site is pretty much what it is. It's the site. The only thing it's proposing is a shed to cover equipment in the future and a new saw to replace the old one. So everything else stays the same. On the other sites, there's existing roads that have been in place since the 50s and 60s when they opened that site up to get down to the lower area. And so there's not much site work needs to be done. Lots 2, 3, and 4, if you look at them, one is part of the academy system that he's working on in employee housing, as well as the other one. So the road is in. We really don't have much to show as far as progress on that. The middle lot, the middle one on top, lot 3, is part of the business in such a way that it's going to be a model home to show. Brian is a log builder, cabin builder, and that's why he's acquired this thing. To show what the product looks like and also be able to eventually sell it, and that's the reason for the platting. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
I was thinking more along the lines of what the conditions of the permit were before. What type of work has been done?
well, wetland delineation's been completed. We've been working with the health district for that. We have agreement with the fire department that we will either put in a fire tank or use the old log mill pond as a hydrant. And that is been clarified with him, and he is accepting that we would come in for building permits one by one as we come along on that.
And is there a development agreement on the roads that's been completed or been worked on?
We've worked with the county engineer, and the approval process is the agreement was to seal coat and maintain that entrance on Spink, up on
Highway 55.
up there on the intersection of Spink and 55. Other than that, the development agreement is in the process of working with the county and the applicant to finalize that, which is pretty much the road agreement and how we're dealing with Spink. We do have a revised set of CCNRs that we need to share with the county, and that's forthcoming.
And how about the water resources? The
That's a note that came out of the meeting on the, it was appealed, and there really isn't a rule that says that, but in order to appease that part, we'll get a letter from the DEQ that states that wells are on this thing. It's part of the permitting process. They're in air, so we will get a letter from DEQ.
You're saying the Idaho Department of Water Resources is in error?
No,
Or
we did this
Sorry.
because the owners, the adjacent neighbors, were saying that the DEQ approval and the wells were not right. And so in order to answer that comment, we said we'd get a approval letter from DEQ for wells, additional wells on this site, which is, from a statute standpoint and DEQ regulations, is allowed. All I'm saying is we're good. I just got to get a letter from DEQ.
We have a follow-up on that. If you're gonna get additional wells, you have to run that through Idaho Department of Water Resources,
Well,
not DEQ.
what happens is you have, as you know, Ken, because they're individual lots and the flows are not over those characteristics for what is being proposed, a well driller's permit acts as the initial permit for the wells. And it just goes through that process. And so as it gets recorded and becomes a lot, and then it is recorded on the Department of Water Resources sources of diversion points.
But you would have to file a transfer with Idaho Water Resources to change it from a single-family residential use to multifamily.
Well, the current well that's on site was dedicated for the mill site. It's separate from all the other 3 other lots. The other 3 are additional individual wells that are there to support each lot. We're not having a community system.
Their current wells.
No, they will be drilled wells. All 3 of them? I'm sorry. See what I know?
What was the comment? So I need you to step up to the mic and state your name instead of just a comment from the audience. Sorry.
Brian Schaefer, and I live,
What's your address?
physical address is 1500, the street, I can't think of it, it's in McCall. I can't think of it right now, sorry. But I live in McCall. And the 3 wells that you were talking about on the other 3 lots are drilled.
And they're permitted through,
They were permitted, as he said, through the well driller's initial permit, And he said that's all we needed until we went to the state and said, please inspect these wells for a different use. So they're just, each well had the well driller's permit associated with it when he drilled the well.
And those wells were for a single-family residential?
I don't know that that was not the indication that he gave me. We were just drilling wells, and he said, I'll get a permit, and that will register the water right. And at the time that you're going to actually develop the property, then you will go to the state and make sure that that well meets the specifications for the use you're intending to use.
That involves filing a transfer.
Pardon me?
That involves filing a transfer of the water right.
Okay.
Because if you're going to change beneficial use to a different type of just single residential, multifamily, then you have to file a transfer.
If indeed that's how they're filed, I can't say for sure. And to talk a little more about the progress, so as Jim mentioned, the CCNRs are complete and ready to submit. And we have an agreement with Jess, the fire marshal. Pardon me? Oh, yeah. So we had an agreement with the county road department initially to share costs to put dust abatement on Spink from the highway to the last driveway, proposed driveway on my property there. And we were going to do that in the spring and in the fall each year. And we don't have a letter from them yet, but we have a verbal agreement.
He'll need to talk to Dan Kuntz. We now have a Valley County engineer.
Okay.
And there will be improvements made to this road.
Okay.
Can you talk to us about the ITD approach?
I can tell you what I know, and what I know is it's been there since the 50s. And when the highway was improved and the bridge was built in '84, as part of the project, they created the paved approach on the highway to the property, which was an existing approach. So as Jim said, we're confident that it's approved and somebody's just missing a piece of paper somewhere because it's been there for a long, long time. And we're not changing the use because it's still just Lot 1 that's using that approach, not any of the other lots.
Other questions for the applicant or the applicant's representative or engineer?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for public input. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak as a proponent of the extension request? Or anyone who would like to speak who is undecided? And is there anyone who would like to speak who is opposed to the extension request? Okay, seeing none. You are entitled to a rebuttal, but anything else you want to add? All right. We'll bring it back for deliberations to the commission about the extension request. What is your pleasure? I will actually go first because I will not be supporting the motion. I did not support the application in the first place. And I think there's been very little done on the application. It's been extended once already. They're asking for another time. And I still let the record stand on my opposition to the application. But other comments, motions, deliberations?
This one was appealed to the board by the adjacent neighbors.
Denied. Cindy, can we put a stipulation on that we would extend it for 1 year and this is the final extension?
Then they would have to reapply.
Correct.
Is there advantage to that between denying it now and they would reapply at the end of the 1 year? If we deny it, can they come back again with I don't want to shut them off completely.
Well, you can always come back with it.
But you can always come back with a new
They can always-
application, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in there. Sorry, I'm fairly new at this, so I get to ask lots of questions.
Yeah, there's nothing preventing anyone from applying for an application, so.
I'll make a motion if there's a more comment.
Or more deliberation?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to extend the CUP 22-06 Schaefer subdivision extension request for 1 year.
Is there a second to the motion?
Will that be the final extension?
Are you doing it?
Correct.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to extend CUP 22-06 Safer subdivision for 1 year as the final extension.
We need to include the road improvement requirements as suggested by staff, or is that already automatic?
That will be handled.
It's in there.
Sorry. Any questions, Hudson?
Any further questions or deliberations on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay. The motion has passed and the extension will be granted. There is a 10-day appeal period of which anyone can appeal the decision of the commission. Okay. Okay, we are going to take a 6-minute break. Try to be back here at 5 minutes till 8. So far, we're moving along pretty good.
We have the recorder.
Okay, hang on a second. Okay, we are back in session here. We have 4 items left on our agenda this evening. Next up is conditional use permit 25-004, which is a Hell's Canyon rafting. Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contact?
No.
Seeing none, Cinda, would you proceed with the staff
Okay,
report?
Staff report for CUP 25-004, Hell's Canyon Rafting. The applicant's Kevin Miley. The property is currently owned by McCall Landing LLC. Site is addressed at 50 Sunbridge Drive, and it's McCall Landing Lot 19. It's 4.5 acres. Kevin Miley is requesting a CUP for an office, storage, and logistical operations of a commercial rafting company. Existing structures include a 80-foot by 60-foot shop, a 6-car garage, a 50-foot by 80-foot pole barn, and a home foundation. The house was previously demolished. There are 2 above-ground fuel tanks and 3 RV spaces with power and water. An individual septic system and an individual well is at the site. Equipment, boats, and company vehicles would be stored in the existing buildings when not in use. A maximum of 15 employees is proposed. On average, 4 employee vehicles would enter the property and 2 company vehicles would leave every 3 to 7 days. No customers would access the site. Access would be from Sunbridge Drive, a private road onto Highway 55. The 4.5 acre site is, they said that, I don't know why it's. The application was submitted on March 5th. Legal notice was posted, sent to neighbors, agencies. Agency comments received. Mike Reno, Central District Health, stated there is currently a septic permit on the parcel for a 5-bedroom home. He has no record of this system being installed or approved. Applicant will need to submit a septic application for the new proposed use. Emily Hart, McCall Airport Manager, stated the site is 1.76 miles from end of runway 34 in the horizontal surface. No airport requirements at this time due to existing buildings. If a home is built on an existing foundation, FAA Form 7460-1 may be required. Ryan Garber, McCall Fire and EMS, stated that fire water supply is already provided from the McCall Landing Pond draft site. Requirements for fire extinguishers and security gates is listed. Joshua Nopins, ITD, stated that an approach permit is not required for this location as the existing approach onto State Highway 55 is already permitted as commercial residential. We received no public comments. Site's relatively flat with existing buildings. Listed to the north is single-family residential lots in the McCall Landing subdivision. CUP 2416 Paradigm Custom Homes Office Shop and multiple residences. South is single-family residential lots. East is Paradigm Storage Condominiums and CUP 87-4 High Mountain Cabinets, and to the west are single-family residential lots. Different portions of the Valley County Code are listed for your review. Staff's compatibility rating was a positive 27. The sites within the McCall Fire District, Water District 65, Lake Fork Irrigation District, and a Herd District. Valley County Code states that commercial uses shall have at least 2 access roads or driveways to a public street wherever practicable. Staff does not believe this requirement is practical for this use at this location. The existing structure appears to be greater than the required 100-foot distance from the high water line for commercial structures. The Commission should determine if the existing landscaping is adequate. The applicant was asked to clarify the following. And then they gave their responses. I'm not going to read those. Those were in the staff report. Proposed conditions of approval, 1 through 4 are the typical ones. This will have to be established within 1 year, or permit extension will be required. They must have an approved stormwater management plan and site grading plan approved by the Valley County engineer. Prior to any site grading being done on site, will obtain Central District Health approval prior to issuance of any building permits. Lighting must comply with Valley County Code. The site must be kept in a neat and orderly manner. If landscaping dies, it must be replaced with comparable vegetation, Noxious weeds must be controlled using proper land management principles. A sign permit is required for any exterior sign advertising the business operation. Parking is not allowed in the 30-foot setback area from the property line along Sunbridge Drive. Must place addressing numbers on the building and driveway entrance. Customers shall not access this location. Maximum of 15 employees at the site. Equipment and vehicles will be stored inside buildings or pole barn. A single-family residence for personal use may be constructed with a building permit. Additional buildings will require approval of an amended conditional use permit. Using the site for employee housing would require an amended conditional use permit. And that ends my staff report. But I do have some visual. This is the site. This is the 6-bay garage. Here are the shops. This is the access point. This is the aerial that shows the same thing. This is the new Sunbridge Drive. And it goes, here's where the Paradigm storage units are going in. And then this access is out onto Highway 55. This is the pond system.
Was that all one parcel, Cinda?
No, they just haven't gotten the lot lines on there
Okay.
yet.
Okay, so it basically surrounds the buildings.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, that ends my staff report.
Okay, any questions for staff?
So send a condition of approval. We need an amended CUP for the employee housing, but aren't they requesting or citing 15 employees?
No, they'll just congregate there to leave.
Ooh, gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
Any other,
3 to 7 days.
Cinda, did you get all of the questions answered in their
Well, I think so.
response?
Most of the cars will be stored inside the existing buildings. They're not gonna reside, the residents might be added in the future. Employees will not be living here. Those accommodations are off-site. The RV sites might be used occasionally by family, if needed. Nothing is rented or used by employees.
The 30-day limit still applies for
Yes.
RVs.
Unless they get an RVC. I did have a question about the exterior light on the large shop. I was hoping they would answer that. Did here. It's the house that they tore down. These are old pictures.
Right there.
I'm not sure about this light, if it's one of the old mercury vapors. I just wanted to check and make sure they're all dark sky compliant.
Was there a landscaping plan submitted with this?
No. It's the existing vegetation.
You've got the storage units out in Highway 55.
These are full-grown trees and
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, this time we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. If you'd like to come up, state your name and address for the record, and welcome to the commission this evening.
Thank you very much. My name is Catherine Miley. I'm acting as a representative for my husband, Kevin Miley. My address is 12600 Good Lane in Donnelly. We are intending to make this the new home of Hell's Canyon Raft. And just to confirm a couple of things, there are no employees that are going to be living permanently on the property. The main use of that property is really just for equipment storage, for rafts and trailers and things like that. All of the equipment is going to be stored inside in, separated by the 3 buildings. We will have employees parking on property. However, we have, I believe, 17 enclosed parking spaces. That should suffice for the majority of the parking. If we do need to have any more parking spaces, they will obviously be within the setback restrictions that we have. And I think there might be 3 to 5 spaces that we would need throughout the season. We would be operating on this property from the months of May to October. So we're not going to be operating on this property all year long. Even when we are in operation, like I said, that property is really for equipment storage. We will have employees on property when it comes to packing and unpacking and occasional meetings and things like that. But for the majority of the time, it's just there to store property. When it comes to the light on the warehouse, that building was constructed in 2021. I don't believe that is mercury vapor light. However, we will definitely look into it, and if it is, we will absolutely replace it or remove it. That's not a problem. When it comes to any kind of landscaping requirements, we will obviously comply with anything that Valley County requests of us. We do have the Paradigm Storage Solutions in front of us. They're almost entirely blocking us from view from the highway. But like I said, if there are any requests for us to have any kind of extra landscaping, we will be happy to comply. If you guys have any other questions?
Don't.
Questions for the applicant? So you plan to basically use the existing facilities?
Correct.
Right.
We are not planning on building anything right now. We are hoping to be able to build a home on that property, but that's not even in the realm of what we're doing right now. That's going to be years down the road. So.
And Cinda, if they do build another building and or a residence, does that require conditional use permit?
We said they don't need a conditional use permit for a house, but they would if they expand their shop areas. Unless you did say that they don't. There are no plans to expand the shop areas.
There are no plans to expand the shop areas. The shop areas that we have are totally sufficient.
Perfect. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open the public portion of this hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify who is a proponent in favor of the application? Anyone who would like to testify if they are uncommitted or undecided? And how about anybody that is opposed to the application? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Can you hear me? Do I need to lower this?
Just pull it down a little bit and then just use your outside voice.
Was my outside voice. Okay, Lisa Moeller, 47 Johnson Lane. Can see all of that perfectly from my house due to a deck that we have. We can see everything that goes on around in that area. What I am requesting is the lights to be shut off at 10 o'clock at night, like the light ordinances. Because unfortunately, I am up a good portion of the night, and I wander around outside, and I just would like to be able to enjoy the stars and the moon, but those lights are annoying on the big building. That's pretty much it. Just lose the lights. When they're gone in the winter, shut the lights off completely, put a timer on the building, whatever they got to do. Have the lights off by 10 o'clock.
Are those lights existing on the buildings now?
The big building.
Okay.
Yeah. Sands put the lights on when he built that.
Does that light shine primarily down, or does it shine out?
Now, I could be wrong on this, but it's like Christmas tree lights. They go around the building. And they're like circles. Now, is this correct or not?
Those lights, if that was something that, I don't know if you want me to step out.
Actually, I'm going to have you handle this at the rebuttal. Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
at the rebuttal? Okay, that's
you.
fine. I just wanted to make sure that I had the right building, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
yep.
Get your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Hearing none, the applicant has a chance to have a rebuttal. Might have a question to answer.
I would be happy to. When it comes to the lights she was speaking of, I don't know if that's something that the Sands had on the building previously. There are no exterior lights outside of the one, potentially mercury vapor light. However, when it comes to any lights, we are just getting onto the property. We're very, very new to it. We are more than happy to make sure that our lights are not bothering our neighbors, especially with the beautiful night skies that we have. So we would be more than happy to comply to make sure that lights are off at nighttime.
So you'd be willing to comply with the night sky ordinance that Valley County has?
Absolutely, I would.
Great.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. We'll pull it back to the commission for deliberations and discussion and motions.
I think it's pretty simple that we just add a condition of approval on the lighting.
Okay, it's been a suggestion that we add a condition of approval for,
It's in there.
And it is number 7.
to comply with the Valley County ordinance.
And, yeah, I mean, all of that whole section covers.
Everything. Okay.
Any other discussion? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve CUP 25-004 Hell's Canyon Rafting. I'm just taking note of 9-5B-2 lighting standards.
Would second that.
Okay, so, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Other motions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion has passed. There is a 10-day appeal period of which anyone can appeal this decision to the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for your attendance this evening. Okay, next up is conditional use permit 25-005, the Lex Multiple Residences. Is there any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest?
No.
No.
Nope, none here. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and have the staff report. Cinda?
Sure. Okay, just a
Bless you.
So the staff report for CUP 25-005 Lex Multiple Residences. The applicants are Andreas and Jill Lex. The property is addressed at 43 Shaline Court. It's 18.8 acres. And they are requesting approval for 2 residences on that property. According to the Valley County Assessor records, a residence was constructed in 1995 and an agricultural building was built in 2003. The 1,160 square foot agricultural building was then converted to a residence by a previous owner. Valley County Code requires CUP approval for more than one residence on a parcel. Building permits issued are listed. The agricultural building was issued with a $5 permit. And they're currently have applied to the building department to have it converted to a residential use. And then the 2022-54 was a garage, and then there was a deck permit. The permit for the larger residence was not found. The primary residence is used for the applicant property owners. The second residence would continue to be a rental for periods of 30 days or more. Short-term rentals for less than 30 days would not be allowed for either home. The residences share a well and each have an individual septic system. Access would be from a shared driveway onto Schlein Court, a private road. The application was submitted on March 5th. Legal notice was posted in the Star News, sent to neighbors, agencies, posted on the Valley County website. And agency comments received. Mike Reno, Central District Health, stated the primary residence was approved as a 2-bedroom structure in 1993. The shop was approved as a 4-bedroom structure in 2018 and would have a maximum rental occupancy of 8 people. A detached 2-car garage with no plumbing was approved in 2022. Jess Ellis, Donnelly Fire Marshal, listed requirements for driveways and addressing. Driveways shall be inspected and approved prior to certificate of occupancy issuance. Emily Hart, McCall Airport Manager, had no comments. Public comments received, none. The property is relatively flat with existing buildings and heavy tree cover. To the north is an agricultural building. To the south are single-family residential parcels and CUP 06-34 log jammer storage. To the east is single-family residential. West is single-family residential parcels and agricultural. Different portions of the Valley County standards were listed for your review. Staff's compatibility rating was a positive 20. The sites within the Donnelly Fire District, Water District 65, and a HURD district. Valley County Code states that commercial uses shall have at least 2 access roads or driveways to a public street wherever practicable. I don't believe this requirement is practical.
Bless you.
The second residence was permitted as an agricultural building and converted to residential use by the previous property owner without the proper building permit. The applicant wishes to correct this error and has been working with the building department. The second residence would receive a separate physical address. Approval of the multiple residences would not increase the number of existing residences currently being used on the property, nor the amount of traffic using Schlein Court. Proposed conditions of approval are the typical ones. 5 is all about exterior lighting on this site must comply with the Valley County lighting ordinance. All lights should be fully shielded so that there's not upward or horizontal projection of lights. Must have approval from Central District Health. Septic systems and drain fields must be maintained on a regular basis. Recommend pumping septic systems every 3 years. Must comply with requirements of the Donnelly Fire District. No parking allowed in setback areas. All noxious weeds on the property must be controlled. The site must be kept in a neat and orderly manner. Shall clearly post the addresses of the driveway entrance and all residences. Different addresses for each residence shall be assigned, and no short-term rentals less than 30 days allowed for any home on this parcel. Since the staff report was completed, we received additional correspondence from Gary and Don Jeffus, the previous owners. And they said they do not have an issue with this CUP, except that when they gave an easement to access their property through, it was for one residence. They would prefer they use the main Schlein Court easement to access the detached shop and not the easement across his property. And so this is the site plan here. This is the ag building. Here's the garage. This is the home. You can see this is the Schlein Court that goes into their property up here. This is the property owned by, still owned by Gary Jeffus, I do believe. This is kind of a interesting little piece here that I think they're trying to take care of with Jeffuses. Oh, that ends my staff report. This is the access that goes across. F is here.
So the subject property is the parcel, we could highlight that?
This is the parcel
Okay, that's the
where
parcel.
the two houses are located,
And the easement comes across the Jeffers property.
I believe.
And the input was, the request was to use the Shaline Court. Where is that? It's on the-
That's right. Here. They purchased this property from the Jeffses and were given an easement. But
Shaline Court runs on to the south.
this is another one of those that we named. It was one of those shared driveways that predated the ordinance that said you couldn't have the shared driveways, and we finally gave it a name because there were so many houses out in here.
Emergency vehicles.
Okay.
Do you
This is-
know if there's any recorded road agreements on that, or is it just a community effort?
I doubt that. I'm pretty sure it's just a community effort.
And it does go along the property on the, I guess that's the west side.
Yeah, it looks like there's some access, might be through here. You should clarify the access with the, or maybe up in this area. I don't know. You need to talk to the applicant about how they access this stuff and where their easements are.
Questions?
No questions.
We'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. Like to come up, state your name and address for the record?
Good
Welcome.
evening, Andreas
Bill?
Lex,
Yeah.
43 Shaline Court. Thank you very much for your time tonight. We've been operating under the assumption that everything was legal and appropriately done, and as we found out, thanks to Cinda and Lori, that some of the paperwork had not been properly been filed. We wanted to make sure that we can correct that. Sorry.
Just
Usually, I'm not the one to speak quietly. So, as far as your questions were concerned, where Cinda was focusing in, there's actually a road right there off Shaline Court that has been cleared and is easily accessible now. So, we've talked to the individual that already lives there, unfortunately, hopefully now legally soon, that's the road that he will be using. So that won't be an issue going forward as far as Gary and Don are concerned. As you probably already kind of gathered from the comments, we've had the same renter there for 4.5 years. And he's actually become a good part of the neighborhood and has good relationships with everybody. And so hopefully now we can just legalize all this. As far as the lighting is concerned, there are no outside lights that are not covered. So from that perspective, I think we're good. The septic, we pump the septic we have 2 septic tanks or septic fields on our property. So we have cleared them every 2 to 3 years. So I think we're good from there. We do spray for noxious weeds on an ongoing basis. The individual that's currently living in that building is very neat and clean, and that's one of the reasons why we've enjoyed the opportunity to have him there for the last 4 years. So our goal is really just to become compliant with the requirements.
Is your intent to keep it as one parcel?
Yes, we've had that conversation because it is a private road. It doesn't meet some of the requirements from an access perspective. If we would make a change, we'd actually would like to potentially make the change with the current resident in that building. But I know that would require a neighbor approval.
The
Yeah,
standard
subdivision.
to plat is they have to have frontage on a public road or a private road built to private road standards in order to do a subdivision plat.
We don't have any intentions to make any changes unless potentially with the current rent in that building.
Are there are 2 residences on that parcel now?
Correct.
this is a situation where
We're coming
found-
into
we
compliance,
found-
we found something.
we
Kind
found
of
it.
going backwards, unfortunately.
Okay.
Very backwards.
Compliance officer work.
Oh, I don't know, the whole short-term rental thing is something I added for discussion. Do you want to limit their ability in the future if they wanted to short-term their primary? Or do you think, I mean,
There's an application process for that, right?
there is, but the short-term rental ordinance says that when you have an accessory dwelling unit, which this does not comply with because it's too large, that's why they have to have the CUP, then you can't short-term rent either one of them. But while we're going through this process, if you have no issues with allowing them to short-term rent one of these, I'd like to take care of it now than having to go through this process again. Does that make sense? They might want to, in the future, short-term rent their primary. And we just make it part of this permit.
Appreciate you bringing it up. I mean, we currently permanently residing there. We don't know, in long term, it would be great if that would be an option for us down the road, but we don't at this point have any plans to do so.
I'll be gone by then, so never mind.
Is there any issue with the public notice saying? And
I'd say it wasn't a short-term rental. It's just a condition I put on it to stimulate discussion about it.
okay.
I know we've had, well, is that part of your application?
Did we submit it at this point? No.
That to me is kind of a guiding principle. If it's something that you wanted, you should have probably had it on the application.
It has been previously by the previous owner used as a short-term rental. It had been used by us for a period of time before we moved here as well. But we've been living here now for the last almost 4 years permanently. If it would make things easier in the future, we'd love to have that option available, but understand that there's certain requirements for that as well.
Okay. Anything else you would like to present to us?
Just thank you for your time. Cinda and Lori have been great to kind of guide us through this somewhat unusual process, and we just want to make sure that we're fully compliant. I know there's more to come, but I think we can work directly with, get the approval from agricultural to residential building next, obviously. And thank you for the flexibility with our current renter. I know he's appreciated the opportunity to continue to reside there while we're going through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak as a proponent, favor of the application? Anyone who is undecided? Or is there anyone who is opposed to the application? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the Commission for deliberations and decision. What is your preference?
Seems fairly straightforward unless I'm missing something. I don't know that I would add in the short-term rental stuff right now.
No.
Probably missing something from Cinda, but seems relatively straightforward.
I think they're just trying to right or wrong.
Yeah.
Does anyone find it ironic, though, that they're requesting a restriction on the easement when they're the ones who built it?
Yeah, sold them the land. Yeah. I don't,
Unbelievable.
I'll leave that to being a good neighbor as opposed to a condition.
Yeah.
Is there motions?
Yes, I would move to approve CUP 25-005 Lex Multiple Residences.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion or motions? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion has passed. There is a 10-day appeal period of which anyone can appeal our decision to the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for your attendance this evening.
I'd like to thank them for their cooperation because they've been very nice through all of this.
We don't have cookies in the background. Sorry.
We didn't know it was appropriate to bring any, so. Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is conditional use permit 25-006, Forge Landworks. Is there any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest?
No.
No. Cinda, you're on.
Yes. Address.
45 Johnson.
45. Just not with it here. Let's see. 470. Okay, the staff report for CUP 25-006 Forge Landworks. The applicant is Jordan Campbell. He is requesting a conditional use permit for an equipment storage and construction yard at his residence on a 5-acre parcel addressed at 45 Johnson Lane in the northeast of the northwest section 33, Township 18 North, Range 3 east of the Boise Meridian, Valley County, Idaho. The requested use is to store and maintain construction equipment and materials. Equipment includes excavators, dump trucks, trailers, fuel storage, support vehicles, skid steers, rollers, and attachments. The materials include aggregates, pipe, conduit, lumber, fabric, boulders, dirt, septic system elements, fencing material, culvert, and other related items to residential and commercial construction. The applicant plans to expand equipment storage needs by approximately 25% within 5 years. Slash from off-site projects would be stored and burnt seasonally. The existing buildings on the property include a home, 2-car garage, tool shed, and a covered storage shed. A new temporary, approximately 1,120 square foot temporary storage structure is proposed. The site plan includes a possible future shop. An individual well and individual septic system are available. Access is from Johnson Lane, a public road. Business currently operates in a portion of the parcel addressed at 13722 Highway 55. That's where the Tufel Landscaping was. The application was submitted on March 10th, 2025. Legal notice was placed in the Star News, sent to agencies, neighbors, posted on site, posted on the Valley County website. Agency comments received. Mike Reno, Central District Health, has no objection to the proposal. Central District Health approved an accessory use application for 2 40-foot shipping containers in March of 2025. Emily Hart, McCall Airport Manager, stated the site is 1.5 miles from end of runway 34 in the approach surface. Burning slash and creating smoke at this location is a significant hazard to air navigation. Recommend denial of this activity. For a temporary storage shed, there's an FAA 7460-1 permit that may be required. Public comments received. Lisa Moeller, 47 Johnson Lane, submitted a letter in opposition. She's opposed to burning at the site. Reasons for opposition include noise, traffic, equipment exhaust, water runoff, and contamination of her pond and unsightliness. Johnson Lane is not a commercial hub. Lisa Muller, adjacent property owner, submitted pictures of the site, including ongoing site grading. Burning has occurred at the site. Kurt and Derek Muller, 47 Johnson Lane, are opposed to the business in a residential area. Concerns include noise, dust, diesel exhaust, and large equipment traffic making multiple daily trips. Slash burning is concerning due to chemicals and other unknown waste products. Smoke would be in home and within the McCall Airport Flight Zone airspace. Construction debris and waste has been stockpiled as though it is landfill. Installation of a 24-foot culvert drainage system has diverted water onto their property and pond. Site is sloped. The home has trees. The remainder of the parcel is grass covered. Surrounding land uses are single-family residential parcels, and to the south is McCall Landing. Listed different portions of the Valley County Code for your review. Staff's compatibility rating is a +2. The sites within the McCall Fire District, Water District 65, Lake Irrigation District, and Hurd District. Valley County Code states that commercial uses shall have at least 2 access roads or driveways to a public street wherever practicable. I don't believe requirement is practical for use at this location. The proposed site for storage and maintenance of the equipment and materials is not visible from Johnson Lane, but is visible from nearby property owners. The applicant was sent a letter on April 7th, which is attached. The letter specifically stated, "You cannot prepare the site for the proposed use before the approval. A site grading and stormwater management plan prepared by an engineer will be required prior to any work." However, pictures taken April 12th and April 22nd show heavy machinery grading the site and a new construction trailer on the site. The applicant should clarify the following: a revised site plan that includes shipping containers. Shipping containers will need to be permitted and painted. A landscape plan that includes screening of equipment and materials in accordance with landscaping requirements. Will there be any fencing or screening? A fire protection plan that includes information on the proposed seasonal burning of the slash. Do you bring slash from off-site in order to burn at this site? Why do you not take it to the landfill? Do you have a plan to contain contaminants? How much equipment will be stored on site? Please prepare a table of equipment maximums. A site grading and stormwater management plan shall be submitted. What is your lot coverage? The application says 4 acres will be for commercial industrial storage with 1 acre for residential. The Valley County Code says only 40% of the site can be used. The remainder should be natural vegetation. Do you live in the house? Do you plan on filling more property? Noxious weeds must be controlled. Are there any wetlands on site? When do you plan on constructing the possible future shop, and what will it look like? Proposed conditions of approval. Must comply with the McCall Fire Department. A site grading and stormwater management plan shall be approved by the Valley County engineer prior to any additional work being done on site. The plan shall include all previous work completed, such as fill and the 24-inch culvert drainage on the site. No property allowed in the setback areas, 30 feet from the front, rear property lines, and 10 feet from side. The site must be kept in a neat and orderly manner. No business materials or equipment may be located between the home and Johnson Lane except for the dumpster. All exterior lights on this site must comply with the Valley County lighting ordinance. All lights should be fully shielded so there is not upward or horizontal projection of lights. Any existing non-compliant lighting should be brought into compliance within 1 year of approval of the conditional use permit. A revised plot plan that includes all structures, including shipping containers, shall be submitted to P&Z staff by a specified date. A landscaping plan shall be submitted to P&C staff by a specified date. Landscaping shall be installed prior to October 1st of 2025. If landscaping dies, it must be replaced. Building permits are required for the temporary structure, shipping containers, and future shop. Obtain a sign permit prior to installation of a sign. Shall clearly post the address of the driveway entrance. RVs cannot be used for employees or other rental equipment. All noxious weeds on the property must be eradicated. Shall not burn slash at this site. Slash from jobs must be disposed of off-site. Cannot be collected on this site. There are some visuals on the screen. This is the site plan, and he's listed boundaries of where uses would be. This is the 24-inch culvert that was put in. This is where the future shop might go. This is equipment parking. This is where aggregate dirt boulder storage. This is the home.
Is there a burning pit area there described? Didn't see it in the, just in case I missed it.
No. Let's see where he was going to store slash for burning. This is the site from a drone. This is the neighbors. This is the property to the east. This is his property. And this is the Moeller's property.
Is that commercial on the neighbor to his west?
The West Molars,
No, the other
one
side.
to the east?
Mhm.
No, we've sent him a letter. The Molars, he used to have Kurt's Automotive.
That's his own private
I-
storage area there.
I think it's his own private stock.
Okay.
What else? Pictures. Submitted. I was going to show you. Oh, this is a picture that was taken by Code Compliance. Or, well, this is what it looks like from the road. So it goes up to where the house is located, and then it falls down to the south. This is the view. This is what you see from the road, so you don't see anything behind this hill. Okay,
So it's screened from Johnson Road.
it is
That
screened
back
from
part.
Johnson Road.
Okay.
When you, I don't have any current aerials on this. This is the molars here, this is neighbors. And this back here is where all that other storage is located. And we have sent him a letter. It looks like he has some sort of commercial use back here too. There was, I know that there were some different pictures submitted.
I'm sorry, Cindy, you asked if that was if I was inquiring on Moeller's property, and I said no, but is Moeller's there a commercial site?
No.
That's all, everything there on the.
I think you could ask, if they testify, you could ask him, but I think that these are cars from the commercial business they had. I don't know if he's still working or not.
Okay. Did that wrong in my compatibility.
There were some of the pictures that showed, that I have seen on the site that I just wanted clarified. What's this one here? Let me go back to the pictures. I can point out some things. This one shows it. There's RVs parked here. And we don't have any building permits for these containers. I do have one that has been submitted now. But yeah, I was curious about the RVs. I don't know if he's parking things right on the property line or if he's observing a setback. And I don't know what percentage of the site he plans on using for storage. It can only be that 40%. And I believe that culvert is draining across here into this pond. Okay. That ends my staff report.
Other questions for Cinda? So,
Oh, and I do have one other letter, I'm sorry. Exhibit 1. And you have copies?
This one, yeah.
It's from Jennifer Holbrook, and she is at 43 Johnson here. She owns and lives in this house. She went over and did a tour of the property and walked through the site. in order for business to survive in Valley County, they need to be able to make money and they have to rent or own another piece of property just to have a business. That could be hard. Gordon Campbell, Forest Landworks, has her complete support and approval of him having his business at 45 Johnson Lane and building an equipment storage and having a construction yard at the residence. So 43 is in complete support.
Are there any ordinances regarding commercial burning? I think I understand them for residential on your property or for agricultural if you're doing forestry thinning.
Just particulate emission. No, we have nothing against burning. The consideration, it is in your compatibility rating.
Yeah, but there's nothing,
It was allowed at his last site. I remember the P and Z discussed because the winds took it into areas that didn't have residential uses. It was over Highway 55.
Bless you.
Okay. The questions? So send on the other letters that are being sent. It sounds like there's other commercial, unpermitted commercial activities in the area as well.
Yeah, well, we saw some stuff at this location. It's this stuff here. I'm not sure what that is. We have our exploratory letter out now.
Okay. In the pictures that,
And, you know, I'm sorry, and then the proximity to other things. I mean, this is where you just approve the rafting business, Paradigm Storage, Franklin Building is right here. Okay.
but those are all residential areas. All of them have houses on them.
These are all,
immediately around it.
these are all houses.
Okay.
This is the Franklin Building here.
The industrial along 55.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure that Pilium doing something.
Okay.
He might have just a residential business, I don't know.
We'll find out.
We will.
Okay, no other questions. Let's go ahead and hear from the applicant. If you'd come up and state your name and address for the record and give us your presentation.
Alrighty. My name is Jordan Campbell. The address I reside at is 45 Johnson Lane. Basically, we're just taking our operation we had south of Lake Fork on the east side of the highway there at Two Folds Old Lot and trying to get another CUP for this property. Basically doing the same thing we were there. We're an excavation company, construction, a lot of residential construction for builders in town. We help out the city with their water main breaks. It seems like we've been doing a lot for them. We're just looking for approval to do basically the same operation that we were on Tufels Nursery here at 45 Johnson. Tufel had actually asked me to move off the property. I rented it for a couple years. I had that CUP for about 2 years. So I went and searched for a property, found this one. It seemed at the time like it made a lot of sense just looking at the neighboring properties. I was also looking for a residential business so I could live there because I was staying at McCall RV for the first 5 years. And that's the explanation for the campers. They're both for sale if anyone's interested. They are not, I'm not putting employees in them. I've thought about it, but that is not the plan. They are probably too close to the setback that she brought up there, especially mine on the right there. But yeah, two really nice fifth wheels if anybody's looking for them. I did submit, this picture helps a lot actually, a building permit for a roof to go over those 2 storage containers. I had a building permit out there on Tufels. It hasn't been approved. I just submitted it like earlier this week, so I didn't give them nearly enough time to get that done before this hearing. The burning, to touch on that, we did have approval to burn at the other property on Highway 55. They did ask that we call DEQ prior to burning, just so that we didn't create like a smog issue or something like that, you know, like stagnant air. This one does present a unique difference, being so close to the airport, like with Emily talking about it, presenting a hazard to pilots. I am a pilot. Had a career as a helicopter pilot for a long time. I fly airplanes now. I didn't have any issue in my career with people burning slash, but that is not this situation. Like, we are directly under the glide path for runway 34 at the airport. So I think Emily's concern is valid. However, I think it's also, I can mitigate it just by basically calling in a NOTAM to flight service and letting them know that I'm going to burn. That'll put out a NOTAM is a notice to airmen. It just alerts anybody coming in during their pre-flight processes that will be there will be some kind of hazard. In this case, it would be smoke, the potential for smoke. Obviously, I can be intelligent about when I burn, where the wind's at. Maybe don't do it on the most calm day where it just would rise up directly into that flight path. I think most planes are going to be at least 600 feet above me, and that the smoke wouldn't have an issue, but that's not my call, that's Emily's. But I'm offering a solution there to help mitigate that risk. The culvert is just in the bottom, the low point. We identified the location for the culvert with a laser just to get the water to move across the property. We are planning to, hopefully with permission, to expand that, grade out the parking area to the south, a little bit further south than where that cursor is now, according to the plot plan. We're not redirecting water or moving water in any dish. Simple as that. We're not redirecting water. We're just helping it pass underneath of the site. The dirt that we brought in and cement is basically just for the purpose of expanding out that parking area. The cement's kind of needed because it's going to be soft, so we just need some buoyancy and ballast to help hold up that area. I guess I was kind of aggressive with my outline. The yellow box on the plot line, calling out like 4 or 5 acres, not really understanding that there was a statute for 40% lot coverage. So I should probably look to dial that back to more like an acre or 2 acres. I guess I kind of just wanted my cake and eat it too for tax purposes and write-offs, and then coming to you asking for the same might not work out the best. The future shop's probably next year. Thinking like a 48 by 60 insulated shop. We've been working on the equipment in the snow now for 4 years, and it'd just be nice to have a warmer place with maybe concrete to lay on instead. And yeah, I'm trying to think of the other issues that you had brought up that I should identify during this, but I guess that's all I have for right now.
Questions for the applicant?
The future shop, do you plan on storing any equipment in there as well? Or do you just plan on using that for repairs?
Oh, well, with my boat, that's about it. The repairs for the most part, it just, our equipment is starting to get a little bit of age on it, and no, the answer to your question is no.
If you were to burn on the property or where you have been burning already, could you indicate where that's at?
Sure. Could I bug you to bring that plot plan up? Would you like me to walk over or stay in front of the microphone?
Just direct send his cursor to the right place.
I can do that. I think just to the right of that before going up the hill, kind of in that area would be a good place for it. Shelters it a little bit from the wind coming up from the south. It's also further away from most houses except for Polium's there to the southeast or the bottom left there. It also helps that it's closer to the bottom. The grass stays greener there. that said, we're covering most of this ground with sand and gravel pit run, so there won't be any kind of a nearby hazard as far as fire goes.
Thank you. So the previous site you were at was in a commercial zoned area, commercial landscape. Business commercial park, or was it?
No, it was south of Traybert, where the old Tufel landscaping was. And he had the containers out there with the roof structure and the equipment, just north of Lance Hess's pond.
Okay.
Behind the aspens on the old Tufel.
You know why they asked you to leave the Tufel property?
I felt like he must have got like a really good offer or something for the property, because he called me just real excited. He didn't give me an answer or an explanation for it, and truthfully I didn't really ask for one. I was kind of looking for a nudge to go buy my own property as it was. So no, I do not feel like it was because I was a bad tenant in that sense, but no, I didn't have a feel for why he asked us to vacate.
One of the things that we have to consider, this will probably come out later in the deliberations, but we have to consider impacts to neighbors' properties. And there's single-family residential, as is yours currently. The impacts to adjacent neighbors. So those are some of the things that we have to weigh. And there's probably a significant difference between storing materials and pit run and leftover debris from a construction site and burning slash piles, stumps, whatever it may be from a construction site versus storing equipment, in a building or in a lot, and what those impacts might have. So those are some of the things that we have to weigh. And have you given any thought to not having debris and things like that stored on the site, and just equipment, and maybe housing some of that equipment?
Sure, the thought would be part of the benefit for us of having the property would be to have access to store materials in the form of dirt, gravel. This is going counter to what you're trying to convey to me here. But having that ability to haul off, if we're digging a couple lake houses out right now, we need a place to put the dirt. We would be able to put that here and then move it back into the house to have a place as storage. I would kindly request that I be permitted to do that.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
I do have one, if you don't
Cinda?
mind.
Yeah.
Do you plan on putting any landscape to screen the single-family residences on the west?
It's tough. So the cool thing about these properties is they're all on a ridge, so they're all up real high. And like that house, my house, 45 Johnson, sits probably 20 to 30 feet higher than the yard does. So to screen it would be tough just because of that vantage. And in short, no.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you. You'll have a chance for rebuttal depending on what happens on the public testimonies.
Understand.
At this point in time, we'll go ahead and open it for public input. Those that would like to speak as proponents in favor of the application. Is there anyone who is undecided on the application? Is there anyone who would like to speak that is opposed to the application? You come up and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Robert Bryant. I live at 55 Johnson Lane, which is 2 residences immediately to the west of the applicant. Built our house there in 1992. As far as the question about residential, all are residential, single family, the closest commercial activity is Franklin Lumber. There are no other commercial activities along there. All of those are single family homes. My background and the reason I'm here, I retired from the Forest Service, worked in law enforcement for about 30 years, investigated a lot of fires. My degree after the military was in forest management science. I have a minor in forest fire science, and I did some graduate work with Homeland Security. What brings me here tonight is that fire background, and some of the questions are already coming up here. When I saw the application for the CUP, in it stated, quote, slash from off-site projects would be stored and burned seasonally. Okay, the applicant's property is about 175 feet wide. It's the narrowest property out there along the ridge. And to get a lay of that land, that ridge is actually, it's a moraine, runs east to west. All of the properties are along the top of that moraine. Prevailing winds in this area are primarily out of the south. Due to topographic lifting, orographic lifting, they do come from the south. They do lift along that ridge line, come up and over. So you get some lifting coming up. I won't go into all the science on it, but it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out if you put a bunch of slash that you're bringing commercially from off-site, put it in the middle or below a bunch of residences, it's a recipe for disaster. The if the applicant was just going to be burning slash from his own property, like the rest of us do, we all burn out there. But if you're just burning that, I don't think any of us would have any problems. But when you're bringing it from off-site, we don't know what all is being brought in. If it's timber, trees, he's excavating stuff. If they're demolishing an old building, there's construction materials. Some of that material cannot be burned on site. Mentioned the DEQ permit. What was not mentioned in the staff report either, was the Idaho Department of Lands permit that's going to be required to burn a large pile. I did bring that if you want to look at what can and cannot be burned out there. Construction materials cannot be burned out there. Stumps cannot be burned out there. If you want to look at it, I've got it here for review, but it was not in the staff report. That needs to be considered, particularly if you're talking big piles. And again, this is a commercial activity. We've gone 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's been 3, but go
Oh my
ahead.
gosh.
Go ahead and summarize. I'll give you a couple.
Okay, boy, I was gonna go on this more here. I got good stuff. I got that permit if you wanna see what needs to be, but it's easily mitigated. It's already been addressed in the staff report. Why does he not take it to the transfer site? That makes sense. There's a safety hazard from the airport. There's a hazard to all of those residences along there. Easily mitigated, take it to the transfer site. All of the other stuff that is not allowed to burn there anyway can go to the transfer site. That's what the transfer site's for, easily mitigated. In closing, just in hearing some of the commercial activities that are allowed to be conducted on residential properties, not all of them are equally impacted. This is a very, very impactful activity to be taking place, particularly to all the neighbors and the hazard that it poses to the neighbors there. It's just not a compatible use of a residential area for this type of activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Will you give us your name and address, please?
Hi, my name is Derek Moeller, 47 Johnson Lane. Yeah, it's been interesting seeing the land metamorph over the past few months. Massive piles of dirt, piles of concrete, large equipment, dump trucks, like all day long, hauling big loads. They have to, it's on a ridge, as has been mentioned, so they have to gain a lot of speed with their heavy loads to make it up and over. And so when they hit the apex, they can't slow down enough. That's when it's like closest to our property. The main driveway is right up against ours. I have no problem with a guy wanting to grow his business and do things for himself, but even the pictures that were submitted, there's been massive transformations on the property just since submittal. And I understand like needing to store material for a little bit and then, you know, take it back to where it's coming from. It totally makes sense. But like this 30 foot, it maybe isn't that tall, but it looks like a 30-foot dirt pile that they had to use a Traco or a large dozer that they built a platform on. We're dumping dump trucks with that and then lifting to create the platform even taller. So it wasn't even like a normal height hill. It was a massively constructed one. And it was actually pretty amazing how quick they did it, but it's a lot. It does block our view from Pulliam's house, which is just kind of humorous. I've been cracking up about that. I worry additionally about the contaminants of unknown materials going into our pond. When we moved in the mid-90s, we got a grant from the Fish and Game to expand that pond for the natural habitat that's in the area, now that it's not used for cattle grazing land out there anymore. And we had more water on our property this spring than I've ever seen. And it wasn't that much bigger of a snow year. It was just an average year, but you could see so much more water out there. And if you are out in the field near a pond, you can see how his land just does kind of gently run towards ours. Not a hydrologist or biologist, but I know what I see.
That's
It just feels, yeah, sorry.
That's the pond at the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, at the very bottom of the screen there. Yep, that's what we had expanded by the Fish and Game. And it feels like it's just the wrong spot for a massively industrial commercial zone. It doesn't feel right. Like the view is amazing out there, and there's a lot of quietness that you want to be able to have to experience. And when you think about having a big loud business going on next door all the time, it just makes you kind of not really appreciate it. Just feels like it should be in a commercially zoned spot already, or somewhere that's more appropriate for that kinds of activity versus a home. Like if I'm lucky enough to outlive my parents, I'm going to inherit that place, and I don't know what to expect of it out there. And don't have a problem with the guy. I think we haven't had a conversation, never met him before. Hi, I'm Derek. But I understand what he's trying to do, and it just feels like the wrong spot. And yeah, the burn contaminants, anything could happen. It gets really dry out there. The burning isn't that big of a deal to me, but I know I don't want to have a bunch of smoke blown at my house. This woman complains enough as it is about the smoke from just the normal fires. But thanks for your time. That's all.
Thank you.
I have a question, actually.
Question.
Can you explain what you have parked all
Oh, yeah.
on
I
your
forgot. I was going to
property?
bring that up. Kurt Moeller has been a mechanic in this area since the mid-'70s. And the old guy just wants to look at his old cars. You know, it's his collection of things he's had for a long time. And there's some cool stuff in there, some things of value, and they're just fun to look at.
There's nothing there that's commercial?
No.
All residential,
No.
private owned?
No. He's got, yeah, it's all private. He has one Bobcat that he finally was able to get after his friend passed that used to own High Mountain Nursery. And so he finally has a snowblower attachment, and he can it's 7 acres, you know? And so finally having a piece of equipment to be able to use to kind of keep it beautiful as best we can. And for certain projects is nice to have, but that's the only thing that looks commercial. A lot of snow removal. It's a long driveway. Yeah, I'm sure you understand. Any other questions?
Don't think so. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to testify in opposition?
My name's Lisa Moeller, 47 Johnson Lane. Extremely stressed. From the minute he arrived, our world just it blew up, totally blew up. Backup beepers, dump trucks, 20 loads a day, bringing in just junk. Stuff would you want to live next to a gravel pit? No, I don't think so. Or you'd already be doing it. The cars on our property all have titles. They all belong, to all of us. That's a legacy from my husband to his kids. Besides that, he'd go crazy if he didn't have a car to work on. He has spent his life working on cars. Some of the stuff that is on the property line was there before we bought the place. We didn't move it, we just left it there. His driveway is so close to our driveway that when a dump truck goes up over it, it can rattle my dishes in my kitchen. In the winter time, when the dump truck was out there, they needed to get the dirt and the snow out of it, so they would raise the back of it up and then drive around, banging the door that's on it. And then as they go up the hill, bang, 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 and then they would slam it down so stuff would come out of it. Yeah, it's not pleasant to have happen. Thank God I'm a night owl, but I sleep during the day. I can't sleep during the day because I have dogs. Anything that moves over there on that piece of property, the dogs are not used to it because nobody has ever that has owned that piece of property has used it for anything but pasture land. There was never a road leading to the back. And Cinda has pictures of him riding a roller and what he's doing, and it gives you a date of in April, which is after all the stuff was put in, that he put the road in after the fact. Not before, but after the fact. And he also banked the driveway at the bottom so that the dump truck can come hauling down from 55 and bank it really good, and then to get a run, if it's got a full load, to get it up over the hill and then down the other side. When it goes down the other side, right on our property line. So I noticed he put a cone out there of 10 feet away so that the person going over the top would realize it. The one thing Cinda's got wrong is that's Aspen's house down there, strictly a house for people to live in. Then if you go up north, you see there's 3 buildings there that are Aspen's. Keep coming this way, Cinda. Go this way.
This way, this way.
This way, right there. Yeah, right in there. That's his place. Okay, then right across from that is Aspen's garage. And you may not be able to see it on this. It's not, yeah, that's not Aspen's garage down there. Aspen's garage is further up. You don't have it on there. You have pictures of it in the pictures that I have sent you and Todd.
These are older pictures.
Well, what that is, you know, that's the what do you want to call it? From the sky. Who takes that? Google?
Your drone. Oh, yeah, these are aerials from.
Yeah, aerials from Google. Well, Google's got it wrong because he wasn't living there when those were taken. The pond, Fish and Game put that in. They specifically put it in that area so that the wildlife, we have foxes, we have skunks, we have cranes. They return every year, the cranes especially, return every year to the same spot, which is right in there. We've got ducks who return to our pond every year. We do have decoys on it in order to let them know that it's safe to come down and to be on there.
I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds
Yeah, I
to wrap
know.
things up.
I'm trying to think of something. Other than that, it took him about 45 days to put it all on there without a road or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, this is what I would like. I would like for him to put it up for sale, take 45 days and move everything off of it, including all of the piles of dirt, the, 10, 12 foot tall pile of noxious weeds that he scraped off and is now just got setting out there waiting for the wind to show up and blow the seeds onto all of us who have been spraying for weeds, because that property, 10, 15 years, never been sprayed for weeds. And the patch, Rob saw the patch and he went, that is just ridiculous. And he scraped it 6 to 8 inches down, and it's now at the back near Aspen's house. But it needs to go. Last thing, the culvert, I want it removed, and I want it removed tomorrow. I do not want that culvert in because he is damaging my pond and my property. That's that.
Right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify in opposition to the application? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and give you an opportunity for rebuttal.
I guess the last thing, the culvert, I just don't understand what I changed or anything. It's just a natural flow that goes across my property. I'm helping guide it across there. The smoke or the burning and the fire, the danger there, we have actually drawn back on hauling slash off and switched to chipping for the majority, just because it's more efficient and people take the chips for landscaping purposes. We just found it to be a better solution. So I guess like the scale kind of needs to be addressed of like how much I'm looking to burn. I'm not looking to do like Meckel's Pile out on East Lake Fork or anything remotely close to the transfer station. I don't know how to quantify it, or maybe like put a restriction on it size wise or something like that. The invasiveness of like us coming in there, I get that. Like we came in and we just leveled out the back and it was probably shocking. And I understand that. The dirt that's there is a big pile. That's just for extending the lot out. It's not permanent. It's not for storage. We're just going to cross that bottom where those culverts are at with the plan of extending that. The culvert that's there is probably 15 to 20 foot wide. And we're just looking to extend that culvert and come across it. Is there any other thing I should address that you heard brought up?
But that's up to you.
That's
Anything
fair.
that if you've got it.
When I bought this property, it was under the assumption that it was going to be a residential business. But we're big enough, like that's why I'm here now doing the CUP. I thought seeing all the cars and the old cars and stuff that this would be a kind of a good spot for it. That being said, that's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Can we still question? Yeah. So do you have a drainage wastewater plan for that? If you're hearing concerns of contaminating the pond that was built for wildlife, etc. You have a plan for where the water goes, and you're bringing in material from offsite, so contamination is a potential without a proper wastewater plan? And
There's nothing in writing. We'll put up just 3-foot silt fence along the property line. The culvert, as far as water, we're just taking it from one property across ours, through the draw to the next. Mitigating runoff would be like just hay swaddle around the piles to help just catch any kind of debris and let the water pass on through. Yeah.
Right.
I
Thank you.
would say just the public hearing portion, a site grading stormwater management plan. And that has to be engineered and approved by our engineer.
And I've talked to Mr. Coons, so just haven't had any feedback on that.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back for deliberations. Just want to remind the commission that our charge is to look at the use of land and what's appropriate for the use of land and when it's used, and if there are appropriate conditions to be put on that. So what are your thoughts?
No, and I would say, and relatively new commission. you aren't comfortable making a decision now, if you need to think about it, nothing that says you can't table it to a different night. You are having a meeting next week.
If there's other information that you want to get, we can gather more information. From my perspective, I think there's a couple concerns that I have is, I absolutely applaud an individual trying to run a business, and I get that. I run an excavation business myself. But there are appropriate places, and I think what's happening here is we almost have an industrial, commercial operation in the middle of a single-family residential part of the county. A lot of these homes were built years ago. They enjoyed their use. I look at Chapter 3 of our comp plan about private property rights, and some of the provisions in there are protecting private property rights from certain activities, not just of your own property for the applicant, but it's the adjacent landowners as well. I'm concerned that the proposed use is not compatible with the surrounding areas.
Had very similar thoughts, and then you want somebody to be able to run their own business. I think every one of us has our own business up here, but it's the compatibility and the impact on the values of the properties next to you without the ability to minimize the impact that you're having to them. The property's narrow enough and the topography such that you can't really screen the operations that you're doing from the neighbors and having that impact there. And that makes it challenging. We have the airport board saying this isn't a compatible use for the property to not burn materials on the property. And then you know, we are increasing significantly the traffic that the neighbors are going to hear, and it's a narrow lot, so you're running right down their lot lines, right past their houses to put the materials at the back of the lot. I think it's a compatibility issue more than anything else from my standpoint as well, and an impact probably on the values of the neighboring properties from their view and their, if you would call it, the serenity of a single residential neighborhood.
I think I don't see a huge issue with equipment storage aspect of it. It appears that there's a lot of that happening in neighboring properties. I do think the slash is an issue. You know, I think we have that from the airport. I don't think a residential area like this is where that should take place, and there's a solution for that. You know, that's the nice part about the transfer station. I realize the extra expense to having to do that. And so I feel like if we have just equipment storage, that's not trucks coming in and out every day constantly with loads. That's a truck going out in the morning and working all day and coming back. So I think that's something different that we could look at. But it doesn't seem like the right spot for, you know, slash piles or any debris from different projects, storage of soil, things like that.
Your thoughts? Else? Pleasure.
I would make a motion to deny CUP 25006 Forge Landworks based on incompatibility.
For a second? I don't think I can second a motion. If I remember right.
We table it? Does that mean you table it?
I second that.
Motion has been seconded. There's a motion to deny application CUP 25-006 Forge Landworks. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Yeah.
Say nay.
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 We may have had a confusion.
Okay,
I think his motion was to table it.
okay, so let's bring this back then. So we have conflicting motions then. So let's go back and say, we had a motion on the table and there was a second or was not a second?
It was not for me.
Okay, so the motion will have died for lack of a second. Are there other motions?
Make a motion that we table CUP 25006 until the next commissioners meeting,
May 15th.
May 15th,
Yeah.
1 week today.
1 week from today.
Been moved and seconded for that motion, is that correct? Okay, now we have a legal motion on the table to table conditional use permit 25006 Forge Landworks for a time certain of next week at the regular, or at the second meeting on the 15th. What's the date? 15th? 15th.
Can you state that you may reopen the public hearing if there's additional information you want to hear? I mean, if someone comes up with a question, you'll have to reopen the public hearing, so just make that clear.
Yeah. If there is new information and if there's any request, because the way it stands right now, the motion is to just table it to that point. If at that point we have discussion and we want additional information, we have time to think about it, then we would have to reopen the public hearing at a later time after we get if new information is made available.
That's what I wanted you to clarify, that you could reopen it
Then or following,
then.
or later.
Then.
Reopen the public hearing.
If you want additional information, you can reopen the public hearing.
At the next meeting.
Huh?
At the next meeting? Yeah.
Okay. That clear? We'll discuss it at the next meeting. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Okay, are those opposed? Motion has passed, and it will be tabled until next week. Okay, last item on our agenda this evening is CUP 25-007 High Mountain Cabinets Amendment to a conditional use permit 87-4 and CUP 85-2. Is there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contact?
No. No.
Oh, not on my part. Okay, Cinda, you have the floor for a staff report.
If you
That is
just-
an old CUP.
Yeah, if you just go right over here, here's the next use. All these uses are right in this area that have been proposed tonight. Right here. He now has this land too.
It's where they exchanged some ground with the neighbor.
By what? Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard time with these files in this box.
It's the last one.
It's underneath you, Cinda. I think it's the air conditioning.
It's getting cold in here.
So the staff report, did you do ex parte or con? Okay. CUP 25-007 High Mountain Cabinets. The applicant's Ron Hugendijk. The site is 140119 Highway 55. It's 2.83 acres. The applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to add a 48 by 100 foot storage shop and increase the acreage for the existing business. Individual well and individual septic system are available. A parcel line adjustment that increased the size of the parcel from 1.07 acres to 2.83 acres has been completed. The existing access is from Highway 55. No additional access points are requested. CUP 85-2 for furniture making was approved by Valley County P&Z on June 13th, 1985. CUP 87-4 was approved on September 10th, 1987, and extended the construction timeline